I said, boy. What is that? That foghorn leghorn? Is that where we got that from? And it kind of just stuck.
I'll say. Yeah, I think it's
I said, boy. He was the one that made that happen, I think.
Leghorn.
I am the Great Masochist. Welcome back to another installment of r/no sleep. Today, I have with me the trough that was born in the sun. What's up, man? How you doing?
I'm all right, man.
How you doing?
Having some spindrift due to
You having some spindrift?
due to technical difficulties.
We can talk about that for
We
a
should
split
talk
if you
about
want.
that.
Yeah.
I'm fucking pissed.
So we're not sponsored by anybody. We have no affiliations with any of these companies. It's just pure opinionated. You can take it as you want. As a consumer, I feel like me and Trough are pretty ticked about the Liquid Death changing their ingredients. We've probably, I don't know, we've spent thousands of dollars on their product, and for a reason, because it didn't have any garbage in it. Now they're starting to put garbage in it.
And it tasted good, man.
It tasted good.
I'm not like anti-stevia or anything like that, but point blank, when they came out with their new flavors, like that were soda inspired, I was like, yeah, these are cool. But then I go to grab a can of my orange and I crack it open and I was like, what the fuck?
Dude, I just finished clearing out because I bought 3 6-packs. I was like, man, it's kind of cool that they have the 12-ounce cans again, because sometimes they get warm before I'm done. I'm not a huge fan, but I still clean them up. Like, it's not a big deal.
Yeah.
But I've had massive stomach problems from that stevia. Like, I had stomach cramps trying to finish those off. Now they're gone, and I'm kind of taking a little bit of a stand against that. I don't think that's great. Like, you have the perfect thing going here. I understand you're trying to like profit margins, business stuff. I get it. I've been in those situations, but
They just ruined the perfect sparkling water. It had just enough flavor. I do like Spindrift, but it's a little more like a little bit too much flavor, but it's still not like artificially sweet and bull. If you agree with us, comment down below and let Liquid Death know, and don't accept their $10 coupon. Don't be bought out for $10.
yeah, I refuse to use mine. They sent me the same messages they sent him. It's all just generated. They don't really care about what we're saying.
It's upsetting.
I mean, in them trying to quote unquote appeal more towards a soda people, I get that. That's one of the biggest industries in the United States. Like,
That's why you make new flavors like they did. That was great. I feel like it does constitute as horror.
oh yeah, it is. It's horrific to me to know that the drink that I basically survived off of because I felt like it was clean and it had like 1 gram of sugar in it. That's great compared to like some of these other drinks that are out there that have like 50. You know what I mean? Like, you're only supposed to have like 27 in a day. It's hard to manage that as it is. So you find a drink that you could drink 6 of and it doesn't even dent your daily intake. That's amazing. But I'm getting twisted. I'm gonna start preaching.
Yeah, dude. I just want to say it's been really cool watching the channel grow. It's cool. It's starting to see like a little bit of a community in the comments. Just cool to see those names pop up quite often. So thank you guys for supporting the Mid-Grid Pig here. Thanks for listening to this stuff. I've been enjoying it. I'm only on here once a week, but I'm an everyday listener. Look forward to it, and definitely like and subscribe if you haven't jumped on the train yet.
Yeah, we definitely appreciate each and every one of you guys out there that are listening consistently, because that's what's going to make or break this. The people that have been around since the beginning, I appreciate you. I appreciate the new people jumping on as well. Otherwise, I'm just talking to the wall.
Talking to Vito on the wall. So what are we gonna be sniffing on today, Pape?
So today we have one from Extruded Introvert. This is a new author here. First digs in on this. I found it attractive. I did a very minor amount of skimming because when I'm with a new artist, I want to ask them to be polite. And before I ask them, I want to make sure that it's at least okay. He said, go for it. Let them know whenever it's posted.
Title! I'll never be as good as you at that. That's my favorite part. Title! She said no strings attached, but I think she lied. Part 1.
And I think there's 4. So don't read ahead. I'll get to it. It'll be good. Let's get into it. I'd like to start by admitting that I'm somewhat of a hermit. I live alone in the middle of nowhere. I don't own a cell phone, and I have exactly 1 real friend. As you can imagine, my life is pretty uneventful, or at least it used to be. That changed when I started dating a beautiful woman named Moira.
Moira. Moira.
Moira. Wait, isn't that the Ghostbuster lady's name too?
I don't know. Yeah, Moira.
The receptionist. What's her name? Is that her name, Moira?
I think it is.
Put it in the comments. Put it in the comments if we're stupid. Put what her name is. She has like short hair, glasses that are always like librarian looking on her face. Yeah.
I'd give her a cuddle.
At least a quick hug, you know, if that's what you want to call it. Looking back, the past few days since I met her have been unusual, to say the least. But who am I to say what's normal? So I'm writing it all down and leaving it here for you to decide. Am I overthinking things? Or does this all seem as strange to you as it does to me? Please let me know what you think in the comments. Let them know what they think in the comments.
You can tell us the truth.
At the behest of Joshua, my best friend and social guide, I decided to set up an online dating profile. Having been out of the dating scene for an embarrassing amount of time, I wasn't sure what I was looking for. Was I looking for something serious, something casual, just friends, or something more intimate? I wasn't stoked about the idea at first, and it wasn't until I came across her profile that I knew what I was actually looking for. A reason to get out of the house, out of my comfort zone, and away from the everyday tedium that was my life. Is tedium a word?
Tedium.
Tedium.
Yeah.
That sounds more like
tedious.
See? I read words all day and I don't know how to read. In your life, you can do anything. The more you know. Do, do, do. Little star flies over. And away from the everyday tedium that was my life. Her bio read,
I'm outdoorsy, adventurous, and looking to have fun. Hang out.
Wait. More. Do more horror. I want more horror in there.
Oh wow. Okay.
I'm also gonna put this in there too. I want more horror. Come on, more. This is a dating thing. Harness your feminine dating. Like I'm gonna get whatever I want out there. Just go ahead.
I'm outdoorsy, adventurous, and looking to have fun. Hang out and maybe grab a bite to eat. I'm not looking for anything serious, so don't expect me to catch feelings or stick around. No strings attached.
Yes. I would have swiped right on that.
Swiping right, please. I like how he talks about the dating profile thing, because it's just like anyone that's ever filled one of those things out. It's like, man, how do you sum that up? Do you just set that for what you're looking for right now? Like what I want from day to day changes, you know?
Oh, 100%. Yeah, it's like trying to ask an impossible question that has an impossible answer. I mean, but I guess you have to start somewhere. I don't know.
Someday there's going to be an app. Work my words.
Just drill into your brain.
It's going to be an app. You're going to wear a ring. It's going to, like a mood ring. It's going to be called Mood Ring. Whatever you're into is going to update the app accordingly at the moment. So it's just honest.
But that's the thing though. Like there has to be a middle ground where people baseline, right? Because I understand that like if you based everything off of that alone, you would never find somebody.
Oh man, can you imagine?
Nope, today I don't like guys with black hair. Sorry, like done.
I'm looking to get some noodles and finger butthole.
The casual tone of her philosophy on dating gave me hope. Or maybe I just saw an opportunity. Every part of her bio seemed to speak directly to me. I wasn't outdoorsy or adventurous, but I was looking for a reason to be. I also wanted someone to hang out with and have fun with. Someone besides Joshua. No offense if you're reading this. The cherry on top was the method of no strings attached. That meant that even if things inevitably turned into a disaster, I could retreat into my shell and no one would get hurt. She'd move on to the next guy, and Joshua would finally get off my back. Besides her bio, her pictures were serene. Each one looked like a painting, with her as the focal point, and she looked absolutely stunning. She had long black hair and beautiful dark brown eyes. She was a little on the pale side, but who could resist the allure of a goth mommy?
Oh God, yeah.
Or at least, that's what Josh called her when I showed him the pictures. Okay, so right there, I hate to like peel back the paint immediately, but she was absolutely stunning. Beautiful brown eyes. She was a little on the pale side. Like, red flag goes up. Like immediately. Like I always look for the red flags. I hate to point them out to people because they might be like enjoying the character building and like the introduction to the story, but
your physical appearance suggests you might be a psychotic bitch.
Or not alive. One or the other. Who knows?
No, I hope you're right. Hopefully she's dead. That'd be cooler.
Hopefully she's dead. All right. There was just one thing off about them. They were all taken in the woods, by the lakeside, in front of a waterfall. She wasn't kidding about being outdoorsy. The only way I can describe her aesthetic is goth cottage core. And before you question how I know that, I just want to clarify that just because I'm a hermit doesn't mean I'm not chronically online.
Dude's a hardcore gooner, and he's like, he knows every subgenre of the woman.
Well, he obviously is saying he's chronically online, but what got me was goth cottage core. That's interesting that even exists as words together, in my opinion.
I'm about to Google that. Hold on a second here.
Yeah, shoot a quick goog. Shoot a quick goog and see what that says.
Cottagecore. There's a cottagecore community. Aesthetic, fashion, decor, books, movies, music, and movies. Man, I hope they listen to black metal. Do they listen to like Mayhem and?
Do they listen to Trough-Born Sun?
Do they listen to Trough-Born Sun? Dude, I got my Trough-Born Sun hoodie. Rocking that here.
Hell yeah. Should go over to Trough-Born Sun and give a couple listens over there. Why not? Go ahead, plug it up. Where can we listen to Trough-Born at?
Anywhere you listen to things, man. The Spotify's, the Bandcamps, the whatever. We got some merch up there and whatnot. This hoodie hasn't made it into the merch shop yet, but yeah, give it a sniff.
How's the quality? Feels pretty good?
Oh, dude, it's soft.
Quality feels pretty good?
I'm not typically into wearing my own band merch, but I always wear the samples, and this is comfy.
Yeah, you want to know what people are going to get.
Yeah, I don't want to send something to somebody that I wouldn't buy.
Like somebody's like, man, this kind of feels like I'm wearing cardboard duct taped around my body. Like they're probably not super happy with their purchase at that point.
It's not even about making money. It's just like it's cool that someone's wearing your merch out there, So it's like go for the big stuff. But yeah. So cottagecore's a thing.
Cottagecore's a thing.
I don't see goth cottagecore specifically, but oh, never mind. The art of goth cottagecore for a home. So it's more so like.
Oh, it's an aesthetic.
It's an aesthetic.
Like a interior design choice.
Like steampunk.
Okay. I'm gonna have to look at that later because that seems.
Oh, I'll be looking at it later too. I will.
Okay. Let's see. Joshua was a little cynical when I suggested her as my first choice.
She's a little out of your league, don't you think?
He said with uncertainty. I could tell he was trying to be nice and let me down easy, but I still went for it. I messaged her and then immediately felt silly for even trying. Joshua's comment still echoing in the front of my mind. The echo was quickly pushed to the back thoughts of my mind, drowned out by the sound of a notification. It was her. She replied instantly. After an hour of talking, I was already dressed and out the door, ready for our first date.
Red flag. There's no way that...
Dude, an hour? She's gonna take your kidneys.
Any goth mummy worth her salt's got 1,000 DMs already.
Yeah, you're gonna wake up on the roadside missing organs. Like, guy's not too bright.
Yeah, but you know what? I'd push that button. Let's see what happens.
95% of guys would jump. I would probably just go with a handgun. So I stopped on my way to the car, having completely forgotten to ask her where we were going. All I remembered her saying was that she wanted to go someplace to eat. I ran back to my computer and quickly looked for nearby places. After some frantic searching, I found a diner outside of town. It had a glowing 5-star review, and in my rush, I accepted it as face value. I went to the location she gave me, expecting to pick her up at her house, but instead, she was just kind of standing on the side of the road, with no road signs leading up to where she stood. If I hadn't been expecting her to be there, it would have felt like one of those ghost stories. The ones where hitchhikers appear in your back seat after you pass them by. But she didn't look scary at all. She looked even more beautiful than her pictures, almost glowing. The air around her smelled sweeter, and the sunlight seemed to shine just for her, like a spotlight. Though that could have been the scent of flowers around her, or the way the sun reflected off her white dress. I leaned over, opened the passenger door, and gestured for her to get in. The uneasy silence stretched the 10-minute drive into what felt like an hour. The road was as rough as you'd expect on the outskirts of a small town, and my car's worn-out suspension didn't help. Needless to say, we were off to a bumpy start. So this dude's like head over ankles for this chick just by seeing her the first time. He probably doesn't get many dates like this, like not crushing his ego or nothing like that, but...
He's white knuckle gripping the fucking wheel. He's like...
Oh, yeah. He's like, you smell so nice! And she's like, let me back out. This is weird.
He's bricking up.
I'm building a house over here. A brick house.
No.
It's mate. The actual date went just as poorly. It didn't take long for me to realize I had picked the wrong place. To say the place was run down would be an understatement. There were unidentifiable stains on every table, and one persistent group of flies circled them. I think even the flies were too scared to land anywhere.
Should have went to Applebee's.
Should have went to Applebee's and got kicked out. You ever been kicked out of an Applebee's?
Very close. Not on my own accord.
The owner introduced himself, and I remember thinking his name sounded familiar. Normally, you can chalk that up to being a small town thing, but I knew almost nobody from town, except for a handful of people I graduated high school with. And this guy clearly wasn't the class of 2018. He was more or less my grandmother's age. We took a seat as far away from the bathroom as possible. You don't want to know what that place smelled like. Strangely enough, she didn't seem to mind the smell of the surroundings. Maybe she was just putting on a brave face, because I was the only one who ordered something. I felt bad for taking her out to eat and then choosing the one place no girl would ever want to eat. She assured me she wasn't hungry, and even when I insisted I was paying, she just smiled and slid the menu over to my side of the table.
I'm waiting for these dogs to shut the fuck up behind me.
Them damn dogs. Yeah, mine just kind of like sleeps all the time. He just lays here.
Pick your poison,
she said with a smirk. Reluctantly, I ordered a cheeseburger with fries, and for drinks, I went with 2 bottles of water. I was just relieved to be drinking something that didn't come from whatever machine had produced those stains. The food arrived quickly. I still felt guilty about being the only one eating, so I offered her some of my fries and half a burger, but she politely declined. I didn't think much of it until, a couple bites into my burger, I had to use the bathroom. I jokingly asked,
"Would you mind keeping the flies off my food while I'm gone?"
She agreed with a playful smile.
"Of course. Take your time,"
she said a little too eagerly. The diner was cramped, and the bathroom was barely separate from the seating area by a half wall that desperately tried but failed to quarantine the stench. As I washed my hands, I had a clear view of our table. I could see her eating from my plate. At first, I thought it was cute. I thought she was just too shy to eat in front of me. But then I noticed how quickly and erratically she was grabbing the food. She must have been starving.
Did he say that she didn't order any food?
She declined not only to order, but to also share with him. He offered to share as well.
How's she going to explain it when he comes back? The flies ate it. She's going to like jam Viagra and fentanyl on his burger.
Oh man, she's like, I'll have what I want to. But when I returned, my food seemed untouched. Not even a single fry was out of place. I could have sworn I saw her eating. At least she did a great job of fending off the flies. There wasn't a single one in sight whenever I came back.
She eating the flies.
That might have been what she was grabbing at, bro.
I fucking love this woman.
Oh, me too. Give me your number.
Comment down below.
Comment down below. I know you're out there. I love you. Our second date was lovely compared to the first. The fresh air and beautiful scenery were a stark contrast to the stomach-churning experience at the so-called 5-star diner. Technically, the 2 dates could be considered one long date since the second one followed immediately after the first. But I'll refer to it as the second date, just to wash off the stink from the first one.
Okay, that makes me happier because I see where this is going in the next line, and I was like, dude, if you just went from we went and got burgers, a couple days passed and we went out again, I'm gonna be pissed because like what else happened? All right, so they're just leaving the diner and going somewhere else. I get it.
When we left the diner, my head hung low with embarrassment.
Do you want me to drop you off at home?
I asked, searching for my car keys. Mora's face fell off. What? This is terrifying.
The example of one word just changes everything. She's like, you want me to drop you off at home? What? Just fucking melts.
Mora's face fell, a look of surprise and sadness washing over her. I think I even saw a tear.
Or I can just drop you off where I found you?
I added quickly, trying to recover. This date couldn't have gone worse, I thought to myself while scrambling to console her. She put her arms around me, and just like that, the tears stopped.
Does it have to be over?
She whimpered.
I bricked up.
Yeah.
Now I'm bricked!
We need to stop by JCPenney because I just ripped these jeans. I'm bricked. I thought I had blown my one chance, yet here she was, giving me another shot. Looking back now, it seems more like she was the one pleading for another chance. Could this really be the same woman whose bio explicitly stated she wasn't looking to catch feelings? It only seems strange now, in hindsight, but at the time, all I could do was say whatever would keep the sweet woman in front of me from crying.
No, of course not. What did you have in mind?
She paused, then, as if flipping a switch, her voice suddenly became calm and composed.
Have you ever gone hiking? Hiking? Are you serious?
I said with a chuckle. She frowned, not seeing the irony. Before I even messaged Maura that day, I had been talking to Joshua about first date ideas. Hiking was my first and only suggestion. I knew from her bio she'd love it, but Joshua wasn't convinced.
You can't go hiking on the first date. That's ridiculous.
Joshua scoffed.
How can you expect a girl you don't even know to meet you in the middle of the woods? Not to mention, it's dangerous. I've been hiking before. My backyard is practically part of a hiking trail.
I argued, trying to convince both him and myself that I was up for the task.
No way. Nobody wants to get all sweaty and exhausted climbing up a mountain on the first date,
he said firmly, shutting down the idea. I wish I'd listened, but standing there in front of Maura, asking so little of me, how could I refuse? Besides, this wasn't our first date anymore, so Joshua's point didn't matter. I should have known the trail she had in mind started right where I picked her up, hidden in the underbrush and barely visible unless you knew where to look. I had to crouch down to squeeze through a narrow gap in the bushes. The earth beneath me was damp and cool, and the air was thick with a scent of wet leaves and rich soil. This was all so new to me. As soon as I emerged, the contrast was striking. My car, only a few meters away, was nearly invisible, swallowed by the dense trees and undergrowth. The road was a distant hum, barely audible, as if belonging to another world. The forest enveloped me, its silence heavy, and the few sounds I could hear felt like a soft lullaby. This wasn't just a hike, it felt like stepping into another realm, a place that hadn't always been there, just outside my home, waiting. Too bad it will be a long time before I can go hiking again. We followed a barely visible footpath for about 15 minutes, making awkward small talk. She was even shyer than I was, but I already liked her enough to want to break through her tough exterior, despite what her bio had said. Eventually, we reached a proper trail, much more defined than the one we'd been following. Staring at the path ahead, it seemed like we had two choices, left or right. On the other side, a steep cliff loomed, too steep for me, but seemingly made for mountain goats and creatures far nimbler than I was. Already a bit winded, I looked at Maura, trying to hide how out of shape I was.
Left or right?
I asked, exhaling quickly. She smirked, and without a word, she grabbed a tree branch and started climbing. With no hesitation, she scaled the cliff with practiced ease, like an expert climber. I could only watch in amazement.
Are you coming?
She called from the top.
I don't know. It seems kind of unsafe. Maybe there's another way up.
I scanned the area for an easier route.
Nope. This is the only way up. Come on. It's my favorite path. The view at the top will take your breath away.
She teased, her tone playful, almost like a challenge.
Climb the fucking mountain, boy. Climb the fucking mountain, you dumb bitch.
Yeah, you need to use that brick to launch yourself up over that hill. Come on, trust in the brick.
Trust in the brick.
That'd be a good shirt. We need to get that printed.
That's
Trust
a good
in
one.
the brick.
Trust in the brick.
Yeah. I hesitated, staring up at the cliff face. It didn't look too bad, but I could already feel the tension in my arms. I grabbed the first handhold, feeling the rough rock beneath my fingers. I was moving slowly and almost made it to the top, but when I tried to steady myself and take a breath, my foot slipped on loose gravel. My heart raced as I fumbled for a grip. Just as I thought I was going to fall, a hand shot down and grabbed mine. Maura's grip was surprisingly strong. Her fingers wrapped around mine with reassuring force. With a firm tug, she pulled me up. I scrambled to catch my breath, adrenaline still pulsing through me.
Thanks,
I muttered, trying to hide how shaken I felt. Maura was one strong lady. She probably could have dragged me up there herself if I refused. I looked back at the path we came from, barely 5 meters above where I started. The same trees I had walked under now stretched below me.
That's it? This view is supposed to take my breath away?
I asked, irritation creeping into my voice.
Jesus Christ, dog battle.
No, that's a perfect place. That's a perfect place to stop because this guy, he's got this beautiful girl wanting to go hiking with him, and she's being playful, and he's gonna sit there and bitch about the climb he just did.
Or the view, dude. No doubt. I'd be like, maybe I'll fall and die. Who the cares? Like, you got nothing else going on. Climb.
She's just trying to go do something fun. She's also like top contender of what's that old show? Gladiator. Yeah, she's like a top contender of Gladiator. Like she could have been one of those like big ripped Gladiator chicks that like muscled people off the edge of the...
Yeah, she's playing Gladiator and he's playing Legends of the Hidden Temple. Fucking grow up, dude. Like, no wonder you don't get out much. And then he gets up there, he's like, this is it? This is the view?
This is shit!
The view is in front of you, about to get away. Fucking climb.
Can't see the forest through the trees, boy.
No, silly. That's further up.
She smiled, flicking her hair playfully before continuing her ascent.
Climb, Brick, climb.
I'm in love with this girl right now. I'm bricked right now. Holy shit.
Yeah, man. I mean, like, in my experience, a lot of times if you try to do something like that, the girl that you're with is like, why are we doing this? Why are we getting all sweaty?
It's like hot and sweaty and my shoes are dirty.
She's like, let's fucking climb, boy. And he's like, this is the best view you can muster. She drops his pants and she's like, that's it? It was going to take my breath away?
Oh, yeah, he's sitting there bitching and then she's like, what's this?
Yeah. You call that a brick?
You ain't building nothing with that shit. I'll tell you that right now. I remember thinking, how much further is this going to escalate? I was already worried about how I'd get back down, let alone going higher. Thankfully, the rest of the climb was relatively smooth. After about 30 minutes of carefully navigating a winding, uneven trail, I pushed through the final stretch of dense underbrush. The path didn't look man-made. It seemed more like something massive had carved through the forest, leaving a jagged trail in its wake. The bushes and trees on either side were thick, but what stood out the most was the smell. It was as if we were surrounded by a minefield of dead animals. Yet I couldn't see a single carcass. The only thing that seemed out of place were the trees. At first glance, they appeared ordinary, no different from the ones lower on the mountain. But these were scattered with odd, bulbous growths. From the branches hung white, waxy shapes that reminded me of over-ripened fruit. But there was something wrong with them. Their shape resembled pine cones, and their surfaces were smooth and glistened in the light. The sizes varied wildly, some as large as prize pumpkins, others small and shriveled like withered pears.
Maybe he said when they got there, it almost felt like they were stepping into like a different dimension or something, right?
Different realm, yeah.
Just that kind of vibe.
She is, I don't want to say it just yet, but the fact that she can climb the way that she does, I'm starting to get kind of an inkling here. Let's go a little bit further.
We don't think she's like a vampire. She's out in the daylight. I mean, like, do we think that maybe she is like an otherworldly being? There's no house there. Like, she came out of the woods.
I think she's a spider. I'll just put it straight out. I think she's a spider.
And maybe she was eating the flies.
Doesn't it make sense if you think about it?
There were no flies around them, and he saw her eating something rapidly and crazy.
The way that she can climb. Now they're walking through like a cocooned forest with cocoons hanging in the trees of probably recent kills that she has done. And she's like baiting him into her lair.
Yeah, so she's like a black widow. Like, that makes sense. That's good because like the waxy shapes that reminded him of overripe fruit, but there was something wrong with them. Shaped kind of like pine cones. That kind of reminds me of, you ever play that game Limbo? The spiders like having little bodies hanging. Yeah.
Still, I pushed on, just hoping the trail led somewhere. As we got closer, the sound grew louder. It started as a deep, rumbling roar, almost mechanical, like the earth beneath me was groaning. As I got closer, it sounded like water over rocks, but heavier. The noise vibrated through my chest, a low hum that stirred the dead air around me. My steps slowed as the static noise gnawed at the back of my mind. As I pushed past the last few branches, We finally broke through into a clearing. I almost walked right into Mora. She was standing there with her back to me, the only thing between me and the source of the noise. She turned around, her white dress from earlier now caked with dirt, bits of plants clinging to her almost as desperately as I had when she pulled me up. She looked at me curiously.
You know, there's something different about you,
she said with a curious smirk. Her words caught me off guard. It was the first thing either of us had said since we heard the distant rumbling.
Most guys would be full of questions by now. Are we there yet? What's that smell? What's that noise? How much further? Blah, blah, blah. But you seem oddly content just following along, wherever the wind takes you, like a blank canvas or a lump of clay.
She smiled.
I admire that about you.
I opened my mouth to respond, but before I could say anything, she began unbuttoning her dress.
Ding, 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 wow. Ding, 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 ding. I'm a lump of clay. I'm a lump of clay. Incredibly malleable. Incredibly malleable.
I will go wherever the wind takes me. Just let me.
Where are we going?
Blow, wind, blow. Blow,
me
wind,
away.
blow. Gotta be a lump of clay before you turn into a brick, boy. It's starting to fester a little bit. The shock flustered me, my breath catching in my throat. My eyes darted away from her, finally taking in my surroundings. We were on top of a much higher cliff. I stepped forward, feeling icy water seep into my shoes. We were standing at the edge of a waterfall. I'd found the rather mundane source of the otherworldly noise, but the sight before me was unlike anything I'd ever seen. However, my mind was elsewhere, on the woman in front of me, now in her underwear. She was right about taking my breath away. Her skin was impossibly smooth, flawless in a way that seemed unnatural for someone who climbed rugged rocks and broken branches all day. Flawless except for one spot, too faded to be a tattoo. It resembled butterfly wings. It rested in the middle of her stomach and was tilted at a 90-degree angle, like an artist had started drawing something delicate but left it unfinished. For a fleeting moment, I almost likened it to a tramp stamp, but that didn't sit right. There was nothing crude about it. It was something else, subtle and elegant, perhaps a birthmark.
Beautiful, isn't it? Yes.
Your stutter's terrible. It reminds me of a certain...
Yeah, nah.
I stuttered, unsure if she was talking about herself or the view.
Would you like to join me for a swim?
She asked enticingly.
I don't... Fuck you, dude. You don't know. Get in the fucking water, boy.
Why? I don't care if you freeze instantly when you get in there. The brick will warm you up.
It's a floating device. I don't know. The water up here seems a little shallow.
I gestured at my soaked shoes.
Plus the current is a little too strong. I didn't mean up here,
she said with the same challenging smirk as earlier. I stared at her blankly, feeling the blood drain from my face, down to my legs, and into the icy water.
That ain't where that blood's going, boy.
It's going to the brick. Her implication was clear, almost demanding. I had already given up my right to say no the second we left the diner. She knew she had me wrapped around her surprisingly strong finger. We'll find out about that later.
Yeah. How strong is it?
I couldn't back down now. Even my logical side knew this was my best option. To jump into the white noise at the bottom of the waterfall and pray the water wasn't deceiving me. That it really was as bottomless as it seemed. The only alternative was to climb down, alone.
It's not that bad. The water will catch you, almost like a safety net,
she said reassuringly. If someone asked you to jump off a cliff, would you do it? The answer is yes. If that someone was Mora. We had only just met, but I wanted her to take me everywhere she'd ever been. And if she was going down that waterfall, so was I. But not out of obedience. I was doing it for me. So Mora, if you're reading this, don't feel bad about what happened. It wasn't your fault.
All right. Before we figure out what happened
I did it for the brick.
Bro said he wouldn't be hiking for a while. He's going to break his legs or some shit. This is part one out of several part story. So Moira, if you're reading this, don't feel bad about what happened. Moira. So, man, that is weird. Now I'm very enticed because, like, dude's going to jump down, break his legs, and she going to take the fuck off.
Yeah, the only thing that's, like, catching me a little bit here is the dude goes from like complete pansy to I'm going to jump off this waterfall to like, oh, I don't want to look at her while she takes her clothes off. Like he's a little all over the place. He's not sure what the hell is going on.
Yeah, dude doesn't get out much. He's an incel gooner. And he's finally with a woman in the middle of the woods. The answer is yes, you jump off the fucking cliff. As long as she goes first. If she jumped off first, I would jump.
Yeah, I probably would too. But if she jumps and her body explodes onto the rocks, then you're like, you gotta go down and see if she's still alive at least. I had been following her every move, but even before I met her, I was already living life on autopilot, never taking risks. Going out with Maura today was supposed to be my first step towards changing that. So what's one more step, even if it's off a cliff? I anxiously undressed, slipping off my waterlogged shoes and watching as the current took them over the edge. One pair of shoes was a small price to pay for a new life. I looked at Maura with all the steely determination of a man standing in his underwear. I inhaled as deep as I could, my chest swelling with newfound confidence.
Stand back, milady. I'll go Stand back, milady. I'll go first,
I said in a voice befitting a hero. I rushed towards the edge, sharp rocks digging into my bare feet, trying to stop me before I did something foolish. But they only turned my triumphant dash into more of a brisk waddle. Then I saw it, sticking out of the water right on the edge, an unassuming, smooth, round rock. A tiny island in the sea of needles, so soft, inviting, flawless. It reminded me of Maura. I leaped onto the rock, placing all my faith in one foot. It failed me. It wasn't until I was already in the air that I realized my mistake. I slipped on the rock that once looked so innocent. Now it was biting into the back of my neck. The rest is only flashes and sounds. A loud thud, a soft crack, a bright sky swallowed by immediate darkness. Maura's scream was drowned out by the sound of rushing water. And the last thing I saw was the surface of the water spiraling closer as I made my descent. What exactly happened after I hit the water? That's something I'm still trying to figure out. It's important to note that I am writing this more than a week after my accident, but the memories are still surprisingly fresh. It took me a while to get this part written down, but I should have the next part posted within a week. But for now, my doctor is urging me to get some rest. I woke up in darkness, unsure where I was. My body felt stiff, my chest tightening with each breath, like something was constricting me. A coarse blanket weighed over me, suffocating in its own way. Even my arms felt heavy, pinned down by strings anchored into my veins. I was wrapped in a cocoon I couldn't escape.
Oh, you called it, boy. You fucking called that shit.
Unbelievable. But like the terror in that, like that's horrific. Could you imagine? Like there's arachnophobia, there's claustrophobia, depending on who you are, maybe agoraphobia. Like this guy seems like he might be kind of a down that aisle too. He's kind of a hermit, so maybe he's dealing with all these phobias like all at once. His mind's probably racked.
I finally left the fucking house. Now I'm fucking wrapped up. I'm all tight, close space, and what else does that but spiders? You called that shit, dude. I'm impressed because it didn't even cross my mind in part one. As soon as you said that, it made a lot of sense.
Yeah, it started adding up a little bit.
I'm not good at math.
And neither am I.
I feel like that could be comfortable though. Like kind of like how you swaddle babies.
Oh, yeah.
It brings out that comfort. Just like all wrapped up.
It depends on who you are and if you've been squeezed tight your whole entire life and you're used to it. I don't know. My neck was squeezed too tightly to take in enough air and my breaths came in shallow bursts. I was a fly caught in a web. One by one, my senses returned. The soft hum of machines filled the silence, the sharp scent of antiseptic cutting through the haze. The room swam in and out of focus. It wasn't a web, it was a hospital bed. But even as the confusion faded, the feeling of being trapped didn't. I tried to move, but a sudden pain flared through my neck, the brace holding me still. I laid there awake for hours, hopeless. It wasn't until one of the nurses carefully turned me over to my side I saw the bundle of flowers next to a bottle of whiskey. It was the same flowers from where I first picked up Moira. I knew it was from her. I don't recall much of our small talk leading up to the cliff, but I remember mentioning I was whiskey guy. The faint memory gave me hope. I knew she was the one who had saved me from a watering grave. Fuck.
That blows my mind even more that it's not a spider web, because
It blows my mind that he's a whiskey guy. That blows my mind.
That's fair. I would take him for more like a Smirnoff or what's what's that stuff people drink these days? I don't fucking know. But it's so weird that you thought it was a spider. All those signs. So he like obviously led us down a path to believe that, because you grabbed onto that. Starts this part of the story as though he is wrapped, and that makes so much sense. Like, so he laid the bait. It's just very well written.
Yeah, it's extremely well written. It's like you still don't know 100%. Like, it still hasn't been completely released if what I am thinking is true or not. He hasn't gone all in on it yet, which is really, really, really cool. I like the fact that he's holding that back still, probably until a more important time in the story.
And with that type of twist, it makes me even wonder if like maybe he isn't a spider web and there's some kind of like chemical interaction of like keeping him calm from not trying to escape to make him think he's somewhere else.
Maybe he's like being drugged, like, and he's hallucinating that he's in a hospital bed and he's really not. The only person who visited me was Joshua. I expected a friendly greeting, but all I got was an earful about how reckless I'd been. After an hour of I told you so, he finally relented and asked me about the rest of the date. I told him everything I could remember. To me, the events happened only a few hours ago, but apparently, I'd been in the hospital for a week before even waking up. And on top of that, another 3 days had passed before I was able to write anything down. Sorry you guys got the watered down version of the events in part 1. The realization didn't hit me in the way you would think. I wasn't concerned about the time I lost. The only thought on my mind was if she still remembered me, if she still cared enough to see me again. In my current predicament, strung up in a hospital bed, I thought my chances with Maura were over. Desperate for any sort of communication with her, I begged Joshua to bring my laptop to the hospital. He reluctantly agreed, but not before imparting more of his wisdom. I was growing sick of it. He paced up and down the hospital room, waving his hands like a preacher delivering a sermon.
I don't like this. Look at you. Look at where this Moira girl got you. You should be happy you are alive, man. If you keep pushing, I don't know how much more you can take. If you want my advice, just cut ties with her and...
I cut him off before he could finish.
You don't even know her. How could you blame her for this? How can you point fingers when it was your advice that led to all of this?
I spoke harshly, aware of how defensive I was being. The words felt strange. Arguing with Joshua was something I'd never done before. We had never even disagreed on anything. This was the first time I pushed back instead of just going along with what he suggested. His calm response caught me off guard.
I do know her.
His voice didn't sound convinced of the words it carried.
We briefly met at the hospital after your accident. We exchanged numbers. She asked me to let her know when you woke up.
He hesitated, his uncertainty deepening.
There was something off about her, man. Her eyes, they were colder and more aged than in her pictures. Did you let her know?
I asked eagerly. His tone softened, shifting from ignorance to compassion. This was the Joshua I knew.
Not yet. I'll let her know tonight, and I'll bring you your laptop tomorrow. I can see this is important to you. I'm sorry you think this is my fault.
With a slight grin, he continued.
But hey, at least you're out of the house.
His twisted sense of humor almost made me chuckle, if only the pain would allow it. The next day couldn't come fast enough. The hope of seeing Moira again was all I could think about. In a misguided attempt to make the night pass quicker, I asked the nurses for more sedatives. I'm not sure what they gave me, but the effects were immediate. It was like I was pulled into a deep sleep, one I've never known before. If only they'd warned me about the side effects. Here we go. You might be on to something with your last little thing about hallucinating this guy.
I like that nothing is strictly obvious here.
Nothing is certain. That is something that writers, they lose grasp of nowadays. They're like, this is how this happens, and this is how this happens. This guy's like, this is how this might happen, but I'm going to tease you with this little thing over here.
And that's what makes it so good. That's so much harder to do because, like, you can always state the obvious. Like, this dude led us down a path, planted clues that led your mind to think spider. I didn't pick up on that. I'm like, yeah, I guess I could see that. Starts off in a web, flip-flops to in a hospital bed. And man, it's just like he's planting all these little seeds to make you think you know what's going on, but you don't. And it leaves you wanting more.
I'm bricked out. I'll need more.
I'm bricked out. I'm bricked out.
That night, I had a nightmare, brought on by whatever the nurses gave me. I was still trapped in the hospital, in the same room. But now, everything was shrouded in darkness. I awoke even slower than before, my senses muffled and distant. But I knew there was someone in the room with me, an old woman. Couldn't quite place her at first. The figure was small and frail, her presence oddly familiar, yet foreign. I thought it might be my grandmother, but then I remembered she died years ago. The woman knew I was awake and stood up from the chair. She quietly walked over to me and placed her hand on my face. It was cold, but as it pressed against my face, I felt a strange warmth, as if the touch was meant to comfort me. She leaned in closer, her breath cold against my ear. Then, in a voice soft yet chilling, she whispered,
"Just point me to your pain, and I will do the rest. I'll clean you of this mess. In trade, I will request the recesses of your mind, of which I'll weave my nest."
Bro, I got goose pimples right now.
This bitch is some kind of spider queen.
Dude, it's like she's like a spider witch. It's like
Oh, wow.
a hybrid of a spider and a witch. Or maybe a witch that takes spider-like form.
Is this her real form, so to speak? Like maybe she is an old lady and she like feeds on things and...
Maybe that's how she stays young. I don't know.
You know what though? Goth mommy, you're still like, take me, do what you gotta do.
Put me in that web.
Brick
Weave
me
up. I'm
up.
bricked. My brick's ridiculous.
I'm going to the brickyard if you know what I mean.
Just point me to your pain. My pain's in my brick, and I need to help my brick.
I'm gonna just spit shit all over my fucking computer.
The words were cold and ominous, their implications comforting at first, and then at the same time, terrifying. Yet they were spoken as kindly as a lullaby, guiding me back to sleep. My laptop arrived the next morning, and with it, the painful acceptance that my body was still too weak to make use of it. My message to Moira would have to wait. I spent the next 2 days trapped in my own thoughts, barely able to move. On the third day of waiting for Moira to visit, I finally caved. Ignoring the doctor's advice, I convinced a nurse to help me set up my laptop. I needed to write her something just to show I was alive. Once I booted up my laptop, I was met with the last page I had visited before our date.
Gothmummies.com.
What was that? It was Goth.
Gothic cottagecore.
Yeah, Gothic cottagecore.
Goth cottagecore, yeah.
Blew my mind, never heard of it. It's a real thing. Go look it up. The nurse looked at me funny as I tried to suppress my laughter. There, in bold letters, right above 5 glowing stars, I realized why the diner's owner's name sounded familiar. Not wanting to dwell on our first date any longer, I closed the page and opened Moira's messages. No new messages.
How depressing.
Yeah, tear.
I thought he said that she brought him the whiskey. He assumed, right?
He was assuming that. He woke up with those things already there.
But the flowers were from her that area, and he had told her that he was a whiskey guy.
Correct. So he is assuming that it's her, but he doesn't know for sure.
And I mean, like, somebody took him to the hospital, right?
She would have had to have been the one to save him.
Right.
She was the only one there. They were in the middle of the woods. So either he would have died because she left him there, or she saved him.
I want to know that story. I know he said she was really strong, but I mean, like, that's a full-grown dude, dead weight, trying to get him out of that place that was pretty treacherous to get up to in the first place.
This dude's in the Matrix right now, hooked up, stuffed in a cocoon, and she's feeding off of him.
I think that might be the truth, yeah.
That might be the truth. I mean, I'm just throwing it out there. In fact, it looked like Moira hadn't been online for the past week. My heart sank knowing she hadn't written me, but at least she wasn't online looking for someone else. I sent her a pretty desperate and way too long message that she hasn't replied to yet. So I won't repeat it here, for my own sake and for whoever ends up reading this. With nothing else to do between physical therapy and doctor's visits, I decided to write down my experience so far, mostly as a mental exercise to try and remember what happened, and to serve as a warning to myself and anyone else planning to go hiking on their first date. Since I woke up, it took me almost another week of writing, but I'm finally all caught up. I know that seems slow, but between piecing together my memories and then painfully writing them down, I think I did okay. And just in time, too. I'm finally getting released today. Joshua was picking me up in my car. He gave Moira my address so she could leave my car there. She didn't know what else to do with it after driving me to the hospital that day, the day I spent so long trying to recall. The next thing I write should be from the comfort of my own home. I should feel relieved, but I can't shake this strange, lingering feeling. Like there's something I'm forgetting, but I can't quite place my finger on it. My first night back was worse than anything I've ever expected. Not even the creepy old lady at the hospital can compare to what happened last night. Let me preface this by saying I don't usually have a nightcap before bed, but last night I made an exception. When I got home and unpacked my things, I found a bouquet of dead flowers that served as a reminder of my relationship status with Moira. I put them into a vase of water, even though I fear it might be too late. With a sad sigh, I picked up the bottle of whiskey Moira had given me as a get-well-soon gift. I'd planned to keep it for sentimental value, but after these last 2 weeks, I figured I deserved a drink. Falling asleep was easy, even with the itchy neck brace. I don't know if it was the whiskey or the last few sleepless nights I spent in that rigid yet worn-out hospital bed, but I was exhausted. So tired that I even felt groggy during my dream. Almost like the anesthetic the doctors gave me hadn't worn off yet. I guess it's my fault for mixing my pain medication with vintage. I should have known something was off the moment I got home, but exhaustion has a way of dulling your instincts. No shit, that's what I'm doing right now. The dream started off like any other. I was drifting into that strange state between falling asleep and clinging to consciousness. Of course, I know now that I must have been asleep and dreaming because there's no logical explanation for what happened next. The room was silent as any other night outside the city. My eyes were closed and I could almost convince myself I was asleep, but then I heard it. It was faint, but unmistakable. The heavy silence was broken up with what I could only describe as the sound of fingers cracking or ligaments popping into place. My eyes shot open. Oh boy.
Spider time.
Don't get too crazy because he's just dreaming. Remember that. Remember that we don't know if this whole entire story is a dream, so remember that too. Something was moving, crawling onto the mattress. I couldn't see it, not fully, but at this point it was merely a suggestion of motion in my periphery. That's when I felt it, a slow, calculated weight shifting closer from the foot of my bed. I was begging every muscle in my body to allow me to sit up and turn on the light. Not a single one listened to my plea. The only thing I could move was my eyes. I looked down, as far down as my eyes would allow. I tried to lift my head, but if the paralysis wasn't enough to keep me anchored, the neck brace made sure of it. It was hopeless. I could feel the pressure building in my throat, making it almost impossible to breathe. The popping noise faded, replaced by the relentless pounding of my heartbeat, hammering against my eardrums as if desperate to escape. All the while, the silhouette was inching closer, the weight carefully shifting on the mattress. The shape was hovering over me, making sure not to touch me. Bro, the way this guy writes, it's on point. It's not over the top. It's not like, I don't feel like I'm reading like my nephew's story that he wrote, last year or something like that. There is such a thing as overdoing it, and this guy's like right in that pocket where it's perfect.
Perfect.
I can see what's happening. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Like in my mind, I can see it.
And like in your head, you can kind of see like a spider, the idea of that calculated movement, the creeping up the bed. It's beautifully written. It's got me sucked in.
My breathing was rapid and uncontrollable, and my heartbeat was growing louder. So I did the only thing I could think of in that situation. I used the only part of the... I got this burp that's like... I gotta keep that in there too. I used the only part of my body I still had control over.
My brick.
My brick! Fully awaiting.
Wow.
Don't worry, I'll kill this thing with my brick.
You ever brick a spider?
Oh, I've bricked a spider before. Oh yeah.
I bet you have.
I mean, like I've dropped a brick on a spider before. I shut them with the same force I had opened them when I first heard that dreadful noise. The instant I closed my eyes, everything went quiet. All movement stopped, and my mattress was suddenly as stiff as the hospital bed I had grown accustomed to. It was all inside my head, I thought.
It's just a bad dream. Keep your eyes closed and focus on falling asleep. This will all be over when you wake up.
I laid there for what felt like hours, but realistically, it was just a few minutes. All I could do was wait. Wait for sleep or wait for my body to finally respond. I am not a patient man, and I never have been. But after what I saw last night, I will never complain about a red light ever again. I wish I had kept my eyes closed, but against my better judgment, I slowly opened them, my eyes adjusting to the darkness all too easily. Then I saw it. Its face was only a few centimeters from mine. The skin was smooth and pale, cracked like a porcelain doll, and stretched too tightly over the ridges of its face. But it was the eyes that held me in place, a row of 8 black pearls that tapered out to the sides.
There it is.
Dude, I'm goosebumping hard right now. The largest of which was a pear placed right in the middle, easily distinguishable by the glint of light collected in them, like pools of ink sucking up the last bit of light in the room. Bro, that's scary shit right there. If you were laying in bed and you opened your eyes and you were face to face with an 8-eyed arachnid that was just as big as you, tell me what you would do. Like, what are you gonna do? Like, I mean, you're already in kill zone, like easily end you in any second. So what do you just like relax? What do you like? What's the natural thing to do in that point?
I think it's interesting how it says like the skin was smooth and pale, and that likens to like her paleness. Like this isn't like a black spider or a big furry brown spider. Still trying to get my head around if this thing has any resemblance of her. He doesn't mention it, so I'm taking it doesn't, but the skin is smooth and pale, cracked like a porcelain doll, stretched too tightly over the ridges of its face. I don't even know what to think. It's kind of like, I guess we're going to find out as it unrolls here, but I think I'd probably reach for that bottle.
Be like, hey, do you want to drink too before we do whatever you're about to do?
Do you mind if I finish this off?
Yeah, let me drink this, and when you suck me dry, it'll make it a little bit better for you. Who knows? The time for screaming had long passed. All I could do was stare. I didn't even bother attempting to move anymore. For all I knew, my paralysis had worn off, but I didn't care. Its gaze was unblinking, relentless, consuming. The darkness inside those eyes seemed to ripple, as though something just moved beneath. The sharp reflection of the room was mirrored in their glossy surfaces. The longer I stared, the more the room's reflection fell out of focus, and I could feel myself slipping further into pure darkness. I was falling down a well and unraveling like a poorly made basket, drifting into the void. The next thing I remember is waking up, expecting the unusual soft morning light to seep through my paper-thin curtains, gradually brightening the room. Instead, the harsh midday sun spilled in unapologetically. Still, it was a welcome change for the unforgiving darkness of the previous night. I glanced at my alarm clock, but I couldn't see the time. Slowly, I turned my stiff body and clumsily reached over, knocking the half-empty whiskey bottle out of the way.
Half empty?
Half empty, bro.
Dude's on fucking painkillers and you drink half a bottle of whiskey? You deserve those dreams, son. That's dumb. I bet you a shot or two would have did you in.
It's probably his brain starting to shut off. Like,
Yeah.
somehow he came through.
Hallucinating.
Whiskey and pain meds? No.
I think it's absolutely a fact, though, that we're dealing with some kind of spider queen type thing at this point. All the, he's baiting us in there.
Like, it's definitely has something to do with an arachnid.
They're cool creatures, man. They're cool creatures for sure. They seem to have a more of a self-awareness than a lot of...
Yeah, their awareness is the only reason why they're alive. And that's why they, like, feel the wind blowing on their webs, and they can tell whenever something is in their web. Like, they're very, very hyper-focused of their surroundings, for sure. Still half asleep, I stumbled out of my room into the hallway. At first, I thought the old, stained wallpaper had little square patches of new wallpaper stuck over it. Then I noticed the wooden floorboards were scattered with broken glass and fallen picture frames. I didn't bother picking up all of them, but one caught my attention. When I took it out of the broken frame, I saw myself and my grandmother standing in front of an old house in the woods. I was just a child. Beside us were two unfamiliar faces, a man and a woman.
An aunt and an uncle? Family, friends, my parents? Why can't I remember what happened to them?
Memories swarm around in my head, but none pertain to my parents. I was starving by this point, so I figured I'd save time and make breakfast, lunch, and dinner all at once, which just meant pouring a comically large bowl of cereal. Now I'm sitting at the dining room table, spoon in one hand, and the other on my keyboard, writing down what I remember from last night's dream. All the while I was thinking of the photograph next to my laptop, the old picture patiently resting on the polished surface of my grandmother's vintage table. I slid it closer, shifting my focus from the two strangers. I instead studied the background. A brand new tire swing hung from an old tree. And the house, I couldn't quite place it, but I knew I had been there as a kid. Strangely, recalling details from the picture felt harder than remembering a dream. On a different note, I once read something about Chinese water torture. Don't ask me why I remember this, but not my childhood. Memories are strange like that. Anyway, it was a method where drops of water slowly dripped onto a person's head at irregular intervals. The randomness of the dripping can lead to psychological effects, since the victim can't anticipate when the next drop will fall. Over time, this can lead to anxiety, stress, and even hallucinations. About halfway through writing this entry, I started feeling a faint, inconsistent drip coming from the ceiling above me. I described the source, but what would require me to get up, take almost 4 steps back, and painfully crane my head far enough back to even see the ceiling. It's too much effort for what I already know is just a leak. I've tried moving the seats 3 times, but the dripping seems to follow me wherever I sit. Then it happened. After finishing my cereal and absentmindedly twirling my spoon, I swear I saw something. On the glossy surface of the spoon, a flash of movement caught my eye. A large shape skittering across the ceiling behind me. It moved like a shadow, but its color was pale white. I saw it only for a second. It was swift and fleeting, but its form was unmistakable. A spider, bigger than a person. Its 8 legs pushing and pulling out of the room in one smooth, coordinated motion. Bro. It's so good. It's so good. It's so well written.
I think it's interesting that if there is this spider creature, I'm interested to understand the motive. Is that spider actually her? Because let's say it is. That doesn't make sense. Like, why would you even take him to the hospital? You already had him out in the middle of nowhere. Could have ate him or done whatever it is that you wanted. Or, like in his dream, whenever that witch thing came to him, she wanted his memories. Do you remember her saying that? And he can't remember his parents. He can't remember that kind of stuff right now. So, obviously, whatever she wants from him is more than just flesh, and it can't happen like that, or she would have done it already, right?
So the fun fact about spiders is whenever they have an abundance of food, they'll actually keep certain things alive so that they don't immediately die, and they'll actually get more sustenance from them. If the spider's starving, it's going to eat to keep itself alive. But if the spider has a plentiful amount of food, it will go from one thing to the other and take only what is necessary to sustain and keep as many things alive as it can. So it might be feeding him to keep him so that it still has something to feed off of.
That's a good point. It's fair.
It's a very, very interesting situation. I almost jumped out of my skin. I spun around as fast as I could, whipping my head back. The pain was immense, shooting through me like lightning striking the back of my neck. In a frantic attempt to look at the ceiling, I found myself on my hands and knees staring at the floor. Slowly, I pulled myself out of the chair. I was lightheaded, on the verge of fainting. I jumped at every black spot in my vision. For a moment, I just sat there, trying to make sense of what I'd seen. It was then that I recalled reading about water torture and how it could cause hallucinations, which, oddly, gave me some comfort. At least now the dripping has stopped. I'll post all that I have written so far for part 2. I can't bear to sit here and write another word. Not after what I just saw. I think I'll message Joshua to come over. I can't be alone right now. I'll keep you guys updated if anything else happens. Expect another part soon. The waiting alone almost killed me. I was painfully aware of every shifting shadow just outside my periphery. For the next hour, I stood with my back pressed against my front door, staring down the hallway, half expecting one of those bony white legs to poke out from one of the rooms. But nothing came. Relief washed over me when I finally heard the familiar sound of Joshua's car pulling up. Until I heard something else above me. A faint, rhythmic tapping, like the muffled clatter of a typewriter. It moved quickly toward the front of the house.
I like that description.
That's a great description. That's terrifying, and it actually gave me a little bit of goose pimple. My stomach twisted into a knot. It could have been anything. A bird or a squirrel skittering across the roof. But I knew it wasn't outside. The sound had come from the attic above me. I say attic, but it's more of a crawl space, crammed with pipes and cobwebs where my grandmother kept her junk. I didn't wait to dwell on what could be making the sound, so I quickly stepped outside, anxious to greet Joshua, desperate to forget whatever I may or may not have heard. As soon as he turned off his headlights and my eyes adjusted to the dark, I saw something that scattered my thoughts and sent a chill through me. Hanging from a tree in my front yard were the same strange white fruits I had seen on my way to the waterfall. Only now did I realize they weren't fruits at all. They were cocoons.
Bingo!
Bum, bum, bum.
I gotta say, you called that first thing in the morning. Why couldn't they be fruit, brother?
I feel like it's never what they say it is. It's always a misdirect. Sometimes it's not, though. I mean, most of the time it is.
It always is or it always isn't.
I felt my spider sense tingling well.
That was a good one. I respect that.
Thanks. I'm glad I didn't get it all on my mic.
I'm always really bummed out about my burp performance. I don't know if I'm not putting enough into it and I just expect it to happen naturally, or I'm not good at it. I don't know which one it is. I never really think about it. I let them come out and they're like, beep. And I'm like, shit, that could have been better, right? Did you think about that before you shot it out, or?
No, I was just more thinking about, like, I didn't want to throw up.
You're just naturally a pig.
Oh, I'm 100% swine. It's written across my back. Swine.
I wish it was.
The
I'd pay for that. I might, if I pay for that, will you get that done? Guys, listen, comment down below if you want him to get a swine tattoo on his back. Maybe we can crowdfund it. That'd be great. Yeah, you have to do it if it's paid for. It's like a rule. It's like, I think it might be a law.
The optimist in me wondered, just for a second, what kind of beautiful butterfly or moth might emerge from them. But that thought was fleeting, because that wasn't what caught my attention. At the bottom of the tree hung an old tire swing. I turned to look at my house, the same one I had walked into just every day, the same one from the photograph. My mind reeled. How could I forget something so obvious? Was the memory loss a delayed symptom of my accident? This was worrying me, but then an even more terrifying thought crept in. Was I already experiencing the same slow, heartbreaking decline that my grandmother had? No, that couldn't be. I was only 25, far too young, even for the rarest cases of early onset dementia. My heart pounded in my chest, but I played it off.
Hey, did you know there was a tire swing there?
I asked, trying to sound casual. Joshua laughed and pointed at his arm.
Dude, don't you remember? I broke my arm on that thing when we were kids.
I stared at him blankly. I didn't remember. And then the realization hit me. I couldn't even recall when or how Joshua and I first met. Dude, this is crazy. It's crazy. It's almost like mind wipe. So from the time he got into this accident, he's been slowly losing his memory. And do you remember that one portion when he was in the hospital and she said something about making a nest in his mind or something?
I don't think he ever went to the hospital.
It's all fabricated.
I think that he's in his mind this whole time. And like you had mentioned before, I was like, why wouldn't you just kill him? You're like, well, spiders typically want to keep their prey alive until they need it. Maybe this feeds off of more than just your physical being. To me, like, you know when you're in a dream and like you're like, what is this? What is that? Like, things don't make that much sense to you. Like, I wonder how much of this is just, he's just in a cocoon himself.
Yeah. Remember when I said almost like Matrix-like, where he's like jacked in and he's just in this cocoon and, you know, the spider's just slowly feeding off of him, taking his memories go with it, like as he's being fed on, just probably like his body, I'm sure.
Little by little.
That's crazy. Yeah. Little by little. I felt my chest tighten, panic setting in, but Joshua's easygoing reassurance kept me grounded. We went inside, and with his presence, the house felt different. Less cold, less silent. As we cleaned up the broken glass and picture frames, I told him about the photograph I found. I hesitated before asking about the two strangers. I left out the part about the house.
Do you know who these two people are?
I asked, pointing at the unfamiliar faces. Joshua took an uncomfortably long pause before answering.
I mean, not exactly. I just always assumed they were your parents. For as long as I've known you, it's just been you and your grandmother. She told me you lost them when you were really young, and yeah, well, I never asked about your parents because it just seemed like a sore topic.
I frowned.
I don't even remember them. How could it be a sore topic?
Joshua hesitated.
That's not what it seemed like when we were kids, but I'm glad you moved on.
I wasn't sure what to say to that. Instead, I asked,
This might sound like a stupid question, but how long have we known each other? Since we were 12? No, 10. I remember because I had to wear a cast for my 11th birthday. What's the story behind that?
Joshua grinned.
You seriously don't remember breaking your arm?
My eyes shot open.
My arm? I thought you said it was yours. Yeah, we both did. How the hell did we manage that? We wound up the rope as tight as we could, so high we could barely reach the tire, but somehow we both grabbed onto the tire and we spun so fast we didn't even realize at some point we were holding on to each other instead of the tire. The ground reminded us of that though, and we hit it hard, and for the next 3 months we sported matching casts. Yours was on your right and mine was on my left.
Joshua chuckled.
I remember you tried to sign mine with your left hand, but after failing miserably, you just drew a crooked smiley face instead. You seriously don't remember any of this?
My mind swam, but nothing he said rang a bell.
Give me another story, please.
I said, a little too desperately. Joshua thought for a moment.
Okay, let's see. Do you remember the time we hopped the fence into your neighbor's yard to steal lemons from his tree?
The memory came easily, as if it had been waiting just beneath the surface.
Yes, I do. I remember my grandmother needed lemons for a pie she was baking. Hell, I remember the exact amount of lemon juice that recipe called for.
Joshua smiled.
Yeah, your grandmother made the best lemon meringue pie. Right! The perfect mix of sweet and sour.
For a moment, I felt relieved, grateful even. At least Joshua had reminded me of one cherished childhood memory. Maybe I wasn't losing my mind. Not the good parts anyway. And on top of that, Joshua assured me that forgetting pieces of your childhood is normal. But then I told him about the dripping. I hesitated before mentioning the things I'd seen, but before I could say anything, he offered to check the crawl space for leaks.
No!
The word came out a little too suddenly. Joshua froze, confused by my outburst. Then his expression shifted, and with concern in his voice, he asked,
Hey, are you okay?
I forced a laugh.
Yeah, man, it's nothing.
Joshua was my only friend. I couldn't afford to drag him into this. I knew he wouldn't believe me, and I knew the kind of person he was. He'd grab a flashlight and crawl right into that shallow attic just to prove me wrong. And I couldn't risk that. So instead, I waved him off with some vague assurance, thanked him for coming over, and ushered him out the door. As soon as I was alone again, the silence grew louder. And in that silence, I swore I could hear the faintest tapping above me.
Fuck this.
I muttered under my breath, my voice low but firm. I grabbed my laptop and rushed down the hallway to my room, slamming the door behind me and locking it. I had no idea if that thing could use door handles, but I wasn't about to find out.
It's a velociraptor.
Dude, if this thing is human-sized and it's like half spider, half human, why wouldn't it be able to use a door handle? This thing's almost like a minotaur, but like spider-human.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a crazy thought because, like, first of all, you're obviously dealing with something supernatural. Second of all, like, the thing got to your house. Nobody saw it. Like, it didn't take a fucking Uber.
And how did it know exactly how to get to your house? Like, it's smart enough to be able to just find you on a whim.
Homeboy's still up at the waterfall or behind the waterfall, just fucking swinging there.
Rolling the dice on them. Guesses. Holy shit.
Just feel it. I felt it.
Behind the waterfall.
I felt it since part 2.
It seems like a pretty good spot. That could be a home run right there.
Seems legit. This is taking quite a turn. I mean, like, I haven't felt even the slightest bit bricked up.
Not yet. Not yet. Don't think that it's not going to happen. Like, the brick is going to happen. The brick's going to hit you in the face. You're going to be like, oh my God, the brick. Don't you think it's not going to come? That night, I barely slept. At one point, I even considered calling the police and asking them to check the attic. But what if they found nothing and fined me for wasting their time?
For smoking crystal meth. You're on fucking meth again, Johnny.
He just has a bag in his pocket and he's like, oh, look what I found. And he puts it on his dresser. A bag of crystal meth.
You know what'd be way scarier is if something like this happened to somebody that did smoke meth, because they wouldn't know if it was the meth. So like what an easy victim that would be.
Yeah, you figure the spider would go after more people like that where...
Yeah, if I'm a human eating spider, I'm hunting down meth heads.
Yeah, I also think that there has to be a sense of play that's being done from the spider side. Like the cliche saying of a fly caught in the spider's web. Like, yeah, it feeds off of everything. Not necessarily just the physical, but like the mental anguish that's going through him. It's feeding off of that too. What if they took me back to another hospital or some psychiatric facility? The thought kept me awake, scratching at the edges of my mind like a creature scratching at the door to be let in. These thoughts persisted all throughout the night. Morning finally came, but I stayed locked in my room until the afternoon. Then I heard a noise I hadn't heard in weeks. One that sent a strange mix of relief and unease through me. The sound of someone knocking at my front door. I walked up to my bedroom door and pressed my ear against it. Who the hell could that be? I thought to myself.
Who is it?
I shouted, hoping for the sound to reach the front door so I didn't have to. A faint voice answered from outside. A woman's voice. Sweet. Familiar.
Here come the bricks. Pile me up. Pile me on down.
Brick City, lighting it up. Yeah,
get out your trowel. Get out your trowel. Get out the trowel. Get out the trowel. Get out the trowel.
Moira? Without a second's hesitation, I unlocked my bedroom door and bolted towards my front door with complete disregard for my neck brace and aching joints.
I greeted her with full brick.
I greeted her with a mixed brick.
Oh, thank you. It's here. Finally.
The structural integrity of my brick is sound.
What the hell is that?
Yes. It's good. It's good, right? I reached for the handle but froze, catching sight of my reflection in the hallway mirror. I looked disheveled. Unkempt hair, dark circles under my eyes, a shirt I'd been wearing for far too long. I couldn't let her see me like this.
Moira?
My voice was a meek whisper. Yeah, it is her. Yes. Full brick attention.
Yeah, it's me. Joshua called me and he's worried about you. He asked me to stop by. This bitch. You mean to tell me you had to wait till Joshua called you? You should have been over there.
Oh, man.
Well, we know why she wasn't. We know why she wasn't. Oh.
Yeah, because she's hanging out with Joshua now. That son of a bitch.
He's like, we've been building a house. It's not a big deal.
It's just bricks. That's all. Her voice sounded unsure. Her pauses were a little bit too long. She was either unsure of what to say or choosing her words very carefully.
I told Joshua I was fine,
I said, trying to sound casual, though I knew she could sense the lie in my voice.
Can I come in?
She asked, her question hanging in the air around me. I hesitated. If I didn't let her in, she might disappear for another 2 weeks.
Sorry I haven't come by. I've been on a Tinder binge.
Well, that's where he found her, wasn't it? He found her on a dating site.
But we assume it's Tinder. I mean, it could have been Bumble Plumba or any of that shit.
Gothmummies.com.
I looked it up on my work computer. It didn't work out.
Wow. You on your work computer? I laughed if your like soup came in and was like, why are you looking up these random websites and like puts Goth Mummies down in front of you?
It's for research.
I was just going to say the same thing. I wasn't willing to risk that. I looked over at the mirror and straightened out my hair as best I could. I threw on a coat to cover up my stained shirt, and before turning away from the mirror, I glanced up at the reflection one last time, instinctively checking the ceiling above me. Nothing. The hallway behind me was clear too. I shook my head. Don't be ridiculous, I thought, forcing myself to act naturally. I opened the door. Bricks fell from the sky.
I know I'm rewinding for a second here, but I'm thinking about this because she's outside. And I'm like, isn't she going to see like the little cocoons? They acknowledged the tire swing in the tree. Why wasn't Josh like, what's with the cocoons, bro?
Maybe, I don't know. Was this on the front side of the house, the back side of the house? I'm not sure.
I took it as though it was all in the same spot because he noticed the swing.
It's a good thing to point out though, yeah.
Open that door, get that brick.
Yeah. In the bright morning light, Moira looked just as radiant as I remembered. But as she stepped inside, I sensed something different. She seemed tired. The same dark circles shadowed her eyes too.
Tinder binge.
She's been run through the gauntlet. That's why she's so tired.
It's a good woman.
She's running herself through the gauntlet.
Respect. No slut shaming here.
Respect. Do your thing. Live your life. And her skin wasn't as smooth as before. Had she been struggling these past few weeks too? She walked right by me without stopping. She headed straight for the dining room and sat down on the old chair, almost like she had done it 100 times before. 'Cause she has.
She knows her way around, son.
There's a flag right there. I wordlessly traced her footsteps to the dining room and sat down beside her. She looked sad. She asked why I hadn't called her, and I reminded her I didn't have a phone. I brought up the message I sent, but she just shook her head. I already knew she had been offline since our date. We talked for hours.
Why doesn't he have a phone?
I don't know, he never did. And they explained that like from the very beginning that he didn't have a phone. He just never had one for some reason. Technologically didn't care to have one.
It's interesting for someone that was such a hardcore net hermit.
Yeah, but he doesn't even have the internet at his house. Remember, he was doing it at Joshua's. When Joshua was trying to help him find a girlfriend, we talked for hours. I spent most of the time apologizing, and she asked me how I had been. I didn't give any specifics and just told her I had been having a rough time since I got back from the hospital. She said she could tell, and a wave of shame washed over me. She offered to run me a bath and told me to ask her if I needed any help. Yeah, bricks don't get made in the dry, you know what I'm saying? You need
I've been cleaning my brick for weeks.
my brick's covered in moss.
Covered in moss. The green hills fine.
How do you make a brick? You mix mud with water. Brick needs moisture to survive. The more you know. The wave of shame was now a riptide, pulling me deeper. I told her it wasn't necessary, and she jokingly told me,
"It's for my sake, not yours."
Ba, 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 ba.
You want me to clean on that brick, you better take a shower, boy.
Yeah, she doesn't want to touch that dirty brick. His same clothes for the last week.
It's for my sake, not yours.
While playfully waving a hand in front of her nose. She just called him Stinky. Like straight up. Like, said, you stink. The next thing I knew, I was sitting in warm water, with my back turned to her as she scrubbed my shoulders. This wasn't how I pictured our third date going. She gently washed my face, carefully avoiding my neck brace. When she finished with the hard-to-reach places, I excused her. Why would you excuse her after she got the hard-to-reach places?
I can't reach my brick.
When she finished with the hard-to-reach places, I excused her, insisting I could handle the rest. I wasn't completely helpless, despite playing the role perfectly.
Oh, I'm so disappointed in him. I would milk that for everything it's worth, just saying.
Dude, he has that nerdy edge to him that, to each their own. After I got dressed, the smell of eggs and toast filled the hallway as I stepped out into it. But beneath it lingered something else, a faint, moldy odor, like something organic was slowly decomposing. I then realized that the ingredients had been in my fridge for more than 2 weeks. When I sat down at the table, I hesitated, staring at the plate, but the smell was gone. Now, all I could smell was breakfast, fresh, warm, and delicious. The first real food I had in days. The rest of the day blurred together. I remember us talking and me telling Moira stories about my life, my childhood, my memories, and memories I had to dig for. She seemed genuinely interested, but for me, it was more than just conversation. It was a test to prove to myself that I did remember things from my childhood. I told her about school, about the adventures Josh and I had as teenagers. But now, sitting here the next morning, I can't recall a single story I told her. I know I talked about my past, but I have no idea what I actually said. The only details I can recall from what I told her are the more recent ones. I remember telling her why I went on the date, about how empty my life felt before I met her. I told her why I jumped off the waterfall, that it wasn't her fault. She seemed relieved, like she needed to hear that from me. Moira spent the night. Oh. Even though he keeps folding his hand, he keeps getting like full houses every day. No, I don't want to do that. But there's another chance. Like sometimes you only get one chance. This dude's been given like a dozen chances.
You know what's amazing about that part is you skipped an entire section because your eyes must have seen Moira spent the night.
Wait, I skipped the entire section?
Yeah, back up to right before that. You were like, it's something about his grandmother, and you're like, fuck that, Moira spent the goddamn night.
I skipped it because that's what I wanted to see.
Yeah, I get it, but the follow-up sentence to that is just absolutely devastating, and I knew he was going to fail. I'll slap this man.
Okay, let me backtrack so I'm not skipping stories. Moira even asked me about the house and my grandmother, but I don't remember mentioning my grandmother to her. Or maybe I did. My memories are slipping away from me after all. Or perhaps Joshua said something to Moira. I am struggling to remember her face. Thankfully, I still have the picture to remember her by. Moira spent the night. No, not like that. You were right. How disappointing.
You son of a bitch. Listen, respect. I don't think that you should force yourself into anything. I'm not condoning social norms and pressures. I'm just saying that, like...
Read the room, bro.
Maybe he is. Maybe I'm just a piece of shit pig. That's possible.
Wow. Then that means I'm a piece of shit pig too.
You definitely are. You're already getting swine tattooed to your back, so crowdfunding.
Well, at least it's not going to be like a tramp stamp. Like it'll be up higher, right? Like shoulder blades, swine.
I think if we raise, all right, how about this? Tattoo needs paid for you to get it. In order to convert it into a tramp stamp, what's that tag look like?
What do you mean?
I'm saying if we have to crowdfund it, it's like, let's just say the tattoo's $500 to get swine on your back.
Dude, so, if my followers pay for it, I'll get it done.
You heard it here first. Comment down below. Meg Massey gets swine as a tramp stamp.
Let me know if you want to donate. I don't have anything set up for this.
How many comments do we need to get? 3?
We don't need to get any comments. We just need to have somebody pay for it. That's all. Because I don't feel like I can do it myself, like spend my own money to get something that I don't want on my ass. I even made up the bed in my grandmother's old room. Well, Moira made it. My injury made it impossible to wrestle with the duvet cover. It didn't matter because sometime during the night, I woke up to the sensation of someone climbing into bed beside me. It was Moira. Again. Batting 1,000. Let's see what he does. We didn't speak. We just lay there, facing each other, inches apart. I could feel her skin against mine, but it carried little warmth, unlike her eyes. I stared into those dark brown embers, drawn into their depths, lulled by their quiet glow. I hadn't thought about the thing in my house since Moira arrived. Until now. Until I lay there, staring at the faint glint in her gaze. Somewhere deep within those eyes, something shifted. Only for a second, something rippled beneath the surface. In that moment, I realized, nothing else mattered. I had never known such peace. Any concerns I had were drowned out by the quiet warmth of sleep.
I imagine she blinks, like the sideways blink, where it's like the reptilian blink.
I don't think I'll do much more writing these next few days. I'd rather spend my time with Moira.
No, I'm proud of you, boy. You get in there, you lay a brick or two, you make your time, you make your peace.
Brick or two.
You come back when you have something to say.
Put that brick in the oven, boy. Baby Billy bricks. It's been a few days since Moira arrived. Her bright, warm presence filled the cold, dark corners I once thought were out to get me. Things had been so normal since she came over. However, my memories of the time before we met are growing more distant by the day. But I honestly don't mind. Those memories are behind me, and my life with Moira is all I look forward to. Although I can't help but wonder what my life was like back then, feels odd reminiscing on memories you don't have. My only reminder is a picture I find every time I open the fold of my laptop. Every night I find myself staring holes through the faces in the pictures. I remember solving the riddle of the house and the tire swing. But the three strangers beside me remain a mystery.
Dude, that's gotta be it, man. He's gotta be still there. I feel like maybe Moira's showing up at the house now. Maybe that's like, maybe she's getting closer, like eating him. Like maybe she's had her other prey and now she's like cuddling up to him. It's like ritualistic.
It's like focus time now. Like she's honing in on the final stage of her feeding.
Of her fill. Yeah, man. And even if he is home, that's still, I feel like, what she's doing. But I think that like the whole like him not remembering stuff, I think that's like trying to keep him at peace so he's not trying to like wiggle out of his little cocoon or some shit, you know?
Yeah, feeding him what she wants him to remember. Just enough to keep him sane, but not enough to make him rebel against what's happening to him. Like, she doesn't want him to see through the veil that she has pressed in front of him. Once he's knowing what's going on, then he's going to panic and everything falls apart.
So she's either going to like feed on him or she's going to like keep it. I mean, we have a whole nother part to go.
We have 2 more parts to go.
Really? It's 5-parter?
There's 5 parts, yeah.
Wow. So something tells me she's not going to kill him just yet. Maybe she's like priming him up, keeping him sedated. Even if he is home, she's keeping him in that realm. Then she's going to go back out and hunt and bring something else back and then come back to him.
I think Joshua is going to have a part to play in this, unfortunately. He's been too close to the 3. Just me, brainstorming. I think that...
She's been there for like 3 days.
I think the main character is going to kind of find out that Joshua's gone or something like that. We'll see. Over the last week, Moira has grown increasingly frail. I keep telling her to eat some of the delicious food she makes for me, but she refuses. I think she prefers eating alone at night because I always notice her missing from bed in the early mornings. And this morning, she didn't return to bed. I haven't seen her all day. Things have been going well, and whatever has been plaguing me seems to stay away when Moira's here. So last night, I asked her to move in with me. That's a big step.
Whoa.
Build a house before you lay the brick. I mean, what?
I need to leave for a little while.
Moira's voice sounded distant, even though she was right next to me. A seed of unease planted itself in my chest.
Why don't you just stay? Like move in here with me.
I asked, my voice hesitant. Her eyes widened. She hadn't expected me to ask this soon. Had I been too eager? Had her own words about leaving backfired on her?
We ain't even stacked bricks yet, son.
We didn't even stack bricks to make a house, and you're trying to make me move in, boy.
Ain't no house to live in, boy. Ain't got no brick.
You gotta lay the brick before we build a house.
You got a neck brace on, boy.
He can't even headbang, boy. For a moment, she stared at me. Then her shocked expression softened into a warm smile.
I would love that,
she said eagerly, like she had been waiting for me to ask. Then, after a pause, her voice grew more solemn.
But that doesn't change the fact that I have to go away for a few days. There are still things I need to take care of. You're coming back, right?
My desperation cut through her sentence before she could finish. Her serious expression cracked, giving way to a playful smile as she stifled a laugh.
Sooner than you think,
she said, tilting her head toward me with an assuring smile.
Against my better judgment, I decided to go up there. The dripping stain was all the evidence I needed to convince myself that it wasn't just in my head. I climbed into the attic using a flimsy folding ladder. As soon as I pushed open the hatch to the crawl space, a foul stench hit me like a punch to the nose. It was the rancid smell of a wet neck brace, amplified tenfold.
Oh,
that's disgusting.
That's a really interesting way to describe a scent.
It really is. I don't know if you've ever smelled a cast before, but
Yeah,
they
man.
can get to the point where they are absolutely wretched.
Yeah, it's like sweat, organic smells mixed with like sour medications, and not a good time.
I slammed the hatch shut and nearly vomited from the top of the ladder. I swallowed back the nausea. I forced myself to open it again and cautiously poked my head inside. The cracks in the ceiling were golden with sunlight, tracing golden lines along the dusty wooden beams. The space was dim, but I could still make out my surroundings. My eyes watered from the stench, but I braced myself and climbed inside, pushing forward through the thick, rotten air. I tried to straighten up, but my head smacked against the wooden beam. Hunching over, I painfully realized I was too tall to stand properly. My field of view was restricted to the dusty floorboards beneath me. Despite my limited vision, I pressed on. Dusty boxes and abandoned cobwebs crowded the space. The boxes were filled with things I had no memory of, but that was not what I was looking for. Something near the entrance caught my eye. I almost mistook it for a wine-stained wedding dress, crumpled and forgotten. But as I reached out, my fingers met something hard and smooth, nothing like fabric. It felt brittle, like the shell of some massive insect. A husk abandoned and left to dry out, stitched together in a shape that shouldn't exist. Only a faint, musty scent clung to it. I knew it wasn't the source of the stain or the smell. Do you think he's touching a cocoon?
My thoughts through this, and this is strictly because I am so on one track stuck on my theory that none of this is real, like he's in his head. Like, I feel like the dripping is something that is in reality that he's hearing. Maybe whenever she's around and he's in that space, like that occupies his attention, and then he hears that dripping and that's pulling him back. Maybe he's smelling his own self rotting or his wounds or whatever, and maybe he's exploring. Maybe this is more like a psychological exploration in the recesses of his mind. Or maybe he's in his fucking house. I don't know, and something's living up there, you know.
Well, that's the thing is you know how spiders eat, right? They basically inject like their saliva. It can be toxic or non-toxic or venomous. It liquefies the insides, and then they suck out the remaining liquid inside of their prey. Then maybe that's what's dripping through the ceiling.
Make you a little milkshake. Yeah, so I mean, like, whether this is metaphorically happening or actually happening, either way is pretty terrifying. Bad situation to be in, boy. You're gonna be a milkshake tonight. Somebody's biting somebody.
That came from above the dining room, at the end of the hallway. So I pushed deeper, and the smell intensified. My stomach was in knots at this point. My heartbeat forced its way up my tight throat and pounded against my head. That's when I saw it, the source of the smell. It looked like a pile of dirty laundry, but it wasn't clothes. It was skin, an unmistakable pile of skin. It was lying there like a fleshy, rotten egg yolk in the middle of a puddle of white ooze. I couldn't bring myself to come near it, but I swear I saw something familiar. A birthmark of an unfinished butterfly. A sudden sense of dread filled me. The neck brace held my head down like a deer grazing, and I can only describe the feeling I had as a deer picking up a sign of bloodlust before getting pounced on by a lion. I had to get out, but more importantly, I had to see what was around me. The doctors warned me of the consequences of removing the neck brace too early, but at that point, it felt like life or death. My hands fumbled at the straps, tearing at the fastenings with frantic urgency. The brace came loose, and the weight of my own head crashed down like a bowling ball.
Oh, man.
So, real quick, did you catch the unfinished butterfly birthmark?
Yeah.
That kind of popped out at me. So that's what Moira had on her. She had that on her back. So
yeah, good
that's
call.
interesting. I'm not sure.
Was that on her back or like on her stomach or something?
It was very faint, like a birthmark. I wonder if it's like a shed or something like that. I don't know. Do spiders shed?
Yeah, I was just watching the thing about black widows.
Do they shed?
Like black widows have that like that hourglass shape, but they have like that pattern, like that red on their back. But that's a younger black widow. In certain kinds. So like they shed that as they get older and they're fully matured. They're just black.
Interesting.
I don't know that that's all of them, but there was a specific species. I caught something the other day I was watching about, probably because of this story. There's something related to spiders. I don't know, popping up on my feed, but super interesting. Interesting thing, the guy had this black widow crawling around in his hand, and he was like, these things are actually incredibly hesitant to bite you.
Right. You have to like force it to bite
Yeah,
you.
like
by like squeezing it or something.
Yeah, like they won't just like run around and run amok and be throwing out them bites, but doesn't mean, if they do bite you, you're in some trouble.
Yeah. Has that a necrotic poison or whatever, like rots you.
Yeah, kind of like how those violin spiders or brown recluse.
Oh yeah, those are bad too.
Your skin begins to rot. What an interesting design.
Liquefy. A blind pain shot through my neck, sending a wave of nausea rolling over me. My vision swam, but I didn't care. I had to see for myself. My plan had the opposite effect. As soon as I removed the brace, I could feel my vision fading. But that only sharpened my hearing. From the far corner of the room, I could hear the familiar clattering of keys on a typewriter. It was quickly approaching. I spun around on my heels and made a desperate and painful break for the hatch. The sound behind me matched my pace perfectly as some unseen narrator was typing out my every step. My foot scrambled to find purchase on the flimsy ladder while my head rolled frantically on my shoulders, searching for whatever was chasing me. But it remained out of sight, lurking in the dark spots of my vision. Before I could begin my careful descent, gravity yanked me down. Perhaps my foot failed to find the ladder, or the ladder couldn't support my sudden weight. Either way, the ground found me all the same, its unbearable hardness threatening to support the weight of the world. Pain exploded through me. My leg popped, and my head cracked against the wall. As I lay sprawled across the hallway floor, the last thing I saw before the pain swallowed me was a row of 8 cold, curious eyes peering at me from the hole in the ceiling.
Boy.
Yeah.
I don't know about you, man, but the way this is going right now, I feel like this chapter should be probably called The Brickless Descent.
The Brickless Descent.
Yeah, like
this is gonna be Mora in her other form. Man, that gives me chills. I got pimples on my arms right now. Just goose pimples.
Goose pimples. Nobody calls them that. And that really upsets me when you say goose pimples, to be honest with you.
Does it upset you? Yeah.
It fucking makes me upset.
They actually used to call them that before they called them goosebumps. Yeah, true fact. Go on Google and type in goose pimples.
Do you know, like, if that would have stuck around, how bad, like, the R.L. Stein books would be? Like, did you hear the new Goose Pimples book?
Do you remember that old ass Goosebumps blanket that I used to have that like hang in front of my door to keep the cold out? Dude, I had that thing since I was a kid. Those were big back when I was a kid, those books.
Yeah,
they were huge.
I remember getting those books out when I was a kid, and then
he was slaying those out too, like just left and right.
My buddy had a couple of the VHS. I remember reading The Haunted Mask. You know what, the one I really liked reading when I was a kid was The Beast from the East. I can't even remember what the hell that was about, to be honest. I just remember the book cover had like an orange. It was like orange and blue, and I was like, this thing looks sick.
I woke up once again in a dark haze. For a moment, I thought I was back in the hospital. The all too familiar sensation of IV tubes wrapped around my arms, and strangely, my legs too. The heavy blanket draped over me wasn't coarse anymore. Everything felt soft, damp, and sticky against my skin. I opened my eyes and was met with a dark room. My room. No fluorescent lights or humming of hospital machines. The only sound was a distant dripping. The sterile smell of the hospital was replaced by a pungent stench that clung to the thick air, a musk of mildew and the sour, sweet scent of decay. I tried to move, but the pain was instant and overwhelming. The dull ache in my neck was now accompanied by something sharper, a searing pain that shot up my leg, through my hip, and up my spine, colliding with the raw throbbing in my skull. I wasn't moving. I couldn't. The weight of my neck brace was the last thing I noticed. I had grown so accustomed to it that it felt like an extension of my brittle body. But something was different.
So dude's not in the hospital, but he's waking up.
Dude, he's 100% in a cocoon at this point. Like, he says he can't move his arms or his legs. He's basically paralyzed, but he's like, it's describing a cocoon as closely as it possibly can at this point. Like,
this is going to ruin my theory. This is going to ruin my theory.
this is, I don't know. It's very interesting. This is what he was feeling the last time, though, when he was in the hospital. Remember, he woke up, and so like your theory's not entirely ruined yet, because this is the way he explained it when he woke up the first time. But then all that kind of faded into the hospital scene.
Maybe he was like fighting and he finally like broke loose a little bit so that he's like actually awake now or something. I don't know.
Maybe. I don't think it's met the crossroads yet where it's determined, you know?
I'm telling you, dude, like that game in limbo.
Yeah, the author's really good at that. They give you little hints, sneak peeks, but never the full delivery yet. At least through this whole story.
I'd like to see this be a mini series.
Ah, dude, this would be a good mini series.
Somebody pick this up.
Pick my brick up too.
Got to put the bricks in where you can. We're brickless right now.
Thick strands of silk had been carefully woven around it, reinforcing its grip, or perhaps ensuring I couldn't reach the buckle again. But the patch of silk stretched tightly over my mouth had only one purpose: to stifle my cries. Then, from somewhere in the darkness, a voice, soft and tender.
You shouldn't struggle.
Panicked muffles erupted from my mouth, but were caught by the mask. I recognized the voice as the old lady from the hospital.
That lady that seemed like she was kind of like a witch.
Like a grandmother. He was like, yeah, maybe it was my grandmother, but he's like, I didn't recognize her as that. You shouldn't struggle.
You shouldn't struggle.
Had my dream visitor finally come to visit me again? Dream, dream, dream. Dream, dream, dream. Yeah. The woman stood next to my bed, and slowly, she reached over and turned on the bed lamp. She wanted me to see her. She walked over to the foot of my bed, and when she turned around, I could see her face in the pale light. It was the face of Moira. She looked impossibly aged and tired. Wow.
Oh yeah, it's all coming together.
That's coming together. It really is. You nailed guessing that was her and that she was aging because she needed to feed or something. I mean, that's what I would think now moving forward, but
yeah, sometimes you're right about things, you know.
Her beautifully brown ember eyes were now glazed with a cataract gray, clouded and distant. The sight of her filled me with a strange mix of calm and confusion. She could see it on my face.
I don't have long, and I can't answer your questions, but it's time for me to be honest with you.
Her voice sounded remorseful and sincere, despite being rushed.
I'd still rack it. Don't care.
Throwing the brick anyway.
Boom! Knock you off my brick, bitch.
I know I must look hideous, but this brittle form is the best I could do to help ease you into the realization of what I truly am.
While she was speaking, I noticed her slowly undressing.
Yes! Granny pen.
Man.
Granny
Like
pen.
you couldn't do this whenever you were like hot AF. Now you gotta wait till your granny vision.
Granny vision.
Don't worry, the brick will succeed.
Stifler's mom, get in here.
Flashes of memories from the waterfall rushed into my mind, and like a spot the difference puzzle, I was forced to examine the ways in which her body had aged. At that moment, a tear ran down my face and soaked into the silk. I didn't care how she looked. She was still beautiful to me. I wish I could have told her that, but more importantly, I wish I could say the same about what happened next. She wanted to say more, but all she could let out was a woeful, tragic shriek as she fell onto her hands and knees. I almost jolted out of bed to console her, but the pain kept me rooted. I was carefully suspended in a half-sitting, half-laying position against my headrest. I couldn't do anything except watch in horror as the woman of my dreams transformed into the creature that haunted my nightmares.
She can do whatever she want, boy. I'm gonna have my way. Transform up on it.
The brick has me blinded. The brick has me blinded.
Blinded by the brick.
Oh, yes. It started with a noise, a disgusting popping and crackling that reminded me of twigs in a campfire. The back of her spine bulged and pushed around against her wrinkled skin. Her face was looking down, but I could still see the pain plastered across it. As painful as this was to watch, I could not imagine the feeling of experiencing it firsthand. At least, that's what I thought, until the woman in front of me slowly tore open like a wet paper bag. It was clear to me then that what I had considered to be Moira was merely a decorative shell for the creature inside her. The tear began in the middle of her back. It started as a subtle bulge that immediately exploded into 4 large bony tentacles that ruptured outward, connected by wet, rotating joints where her ribs should have been. Very, very awesome description. Like from the wet papered bag down to the way that her arms just shot out of her back where her ribs should have been. That's insane.
Yeah, so Moira is like an exoskeleton shell, and then like it's obviously aging rapidly. And I feel like the one thing remember part 1 whenever he like goes away and it looks like she's eating, and I was like, man, maybe she's eating them flies. But the flies were gone when he came back. She was eating the flies.
100%, yeah.
Did they kiss on that date?
They have before.
Oh man, you imagine making out with a girl that just had a mouthful of flies.
The 4 legs were covered in some kind of thick, slimy mucus, dripping onto the ground as they took root and quickly lifted her body. Then her arms and legs elongated and stretched to the same impossible length before Moira expelled the remaining limbs from her back with a pained cry, like a mother giving birth. Her arms and legs deflated and fell flat on the ground like empty, wet tube socks. I'm not sure how, but from somewhere inside, a swollen abdomen appeared, much larger than the rest of her body. Now, the only part still wearing Moira's skin was its head. It dragged itself up by the foot of the bed, and I watched in horror as Moira's mouth opened, and from inside, 2 smaller legs carefully protruded outward. Like fingers feeling in the darkness. You see that? Like, I see that, and that's fucking... Woo.
Yeah, I see that. Why's my camera out of focus? What's going on? Dude, real talk. If sometimes your woman is like a super hot goth mommy, sometimes she's an old lady and sometimes she's a spider, but she's not going to eat you, do you stay with her?
Yeah, she's not going to eat me, of course.
Yeah,
Of course.
good deal.
I don't know if I could trust it, though. Like, how hungry are you going to get before you're like, you know what?
Yeah, there's plenty of kids around the neighborhood to feed her. I wonder if, I mean, like, she was eating the flies. It's not like her hunger can only be satiated by human flesh.
True. Now, obviously she hasn't chose that road entirely, because they were talking when they were talking about the cocoons. They said that some were small, like...
Yeah, you could just, like, adopt pets from your local kill shelter and keep her full. Be fine.
That's so messed up.
I feel like the death from a spider, like, they kind of, like, sedate them and put them into this euphoric state. I mean, like, there's worse ways to die, I'm sure.
They pushed from within, and without any semblance of grace, her face fell onto my lap.
Mm-hmm.
Revealing behind it the same creature whose face I knew all too well. I looked down in horror. I couldn't bear to look into those eyes again. Then I saw it. The shape finally made sense to me. It was not the watercolor butterfly wings I originally thought, but instead it was blood red hourglass painted across the pale white canvas of the creature's abdomen.
There it is. So she's like a black widow.
Which black widows kill their mates.
They sure do. So the only way you can make that relationship work is if, like, you're okay with being like her cock and she, like, goes out and finds other dudes. And you're like, just don't eat me. You can do whatever you want.
Yeah, we can still have this relationship, but when you're getting hungry, go do your thing.
Stop naming the pets, Johnny.
Then she spoke, mimicking the same voice as earlier. The first few words were noticeably distorted before finding the right cadence and pitch. It was her voice. Moira's voice was perfectly clear and as gentle as I remembered.
The silk spun is meant to savor the taste. Instead, you are wrapped up for your own benefit.
There was a long pause, as if she wanted her words to take their course and sink in before she continued.
God, I wish I could feed those dogs to Moira. Don't put that in there.
I'll put it in there.
It's going online.
Tonight is the first time you see me hunger for blood, but I will not harm you.
I could feel the panic rising in my body. I didn't know what she meant, and my arms and legs started to punch and kick involuntarily. The struggle was equal parts painful and fruitless.
I asked you not to struggle. Can't you make this easier on me?
My struggle ceased when I heard the pain in her voice.
There. Stay calm. I have to leave you for now, but I'll be back. The way you remember me.
She took a long pause, choosing her words carefully.
I'm sorry for what I have done and what I am yet to do. I can't control the hunger. It is consuming me.
And with that, she slowly turned away and quietly retreated into the hallway.
What a woman. She's got you like all cocooned up and she's like, I hunger for blood. Can't you make this easier on me? It's the story of my life.
She hasn't eaten him yet because if she just must not be that hungry yet where she's lost total control. Because she's saying it's consuming her. And I mean, he's right there and it's literally like ready to eat. You know what I mean?
Yeah, she's been using like Tinder or whatever to find her food.
100%.
And she's
Yeah.
like, man, this guy's different. And I don't really want to kill him.
I think she likes him. This is like where like monster meets human, but still has like some kind of empathy. It's interesting.
There had to have been a connection straight out the gate, or she would have never taken him to the hospital in the first place when he fell. It would have been way easier for her to just be like, well, that was easy. And wrap his ass up, you know. Wrap it up, I'll take it.
He left some kind of impression. I sat there in my silky prison for the rest of the night, not daring to sleep. I was dreading Moira's return. My mind raced to make sense of those cryptic words she left me with. Morning came sooner than expected. It was still dark out, but I could hear the birds waking up. Along with their peaceful chirping, I heard the sound of Joshua's car pulling up to my driveway.
Oh, shit.
Oh no.
You know what I'm thinking too? Like the dude's laying there all night. Where's your bathroom?
Well, it's in there. No,
Stinky
you just
little
go.
sack. Yeah, so you were saying
He's gonna have to watch her eat him. That's terrible.
I told you the only way to get through this is to be a cock. You got to like sit there and watch her feed. You sit in your cook chair and you eat.
You like it. Watch it and like it.
She never eats me like that.
Wow.
Extruded introverts, like, why do you have to ruin my fucking story? No, I love them and nothing but respect. It's not you, it's me.
Cliche. It's not you. It's me.
It's true.
A fleeting spark of hope filled me before I realized the literal spider's den he was about to walk into. Before I could even process it, Joshua was already climbing the old wooden steps. For a split second, I considered screaming, forcing out any sound I could despite the silk smothering my mouth. But then I hesitated, my breath catching in my throat. If I stayed quiet, maybe, just maybe, he would leave. Maybe he'd think I wasn't home. My frantic thoughts were cut short by 3 loud thuds at the front door.
Hey man, open up. Moira called. She asked me to check on you. It sounded important.
What?
Oh man.
This is a trap.
Yeah, dude. That's savage that she called him asking him to come over, because that's what she's gonna do.
Dude, what happens here? Like, if he walks in, like, and he tries to play it off, he's like, dude, I'm doing my cocoon thing. Like, get out of here. Like, what are you doing, man?
You ain't supposed to know this about me. It's one of my fetishes.
It's cocoon day. Me and Moira are just role playing. She likes pretending she's a spider.
Yeah, look at this realistic spider costume she's in. It's so real looking, right?
He's like, are you sure that was Tinder and not FetLife? What's going on here?
Oh boy. Looking for one single white male to cocoon with me?
Cocoon around.
My heart sank as I processed his words. Moira had called him over. For what reason? Her cryptic apology was beginning to make sense.
Come on, man. I know you're home.
he said in his typical self-assured tone.
You're always home.
He added, his voice softer this time, almost like his inner thoughts had slipped out. He knocked again, but silence was the only response. Through the door, I heard him sigh, his voice dropping into a frustrated mumble as he stepped away.
Where the hell did that old bat put that spare key? The square rock? Or was it the round one? Ugh.
I had no clue what he was talking about. Old bat? Did he mean Moira? Did he know about her illness? From outside the window, I heard the faint sound of rock scraping against rock, followed by a brief, celebratory exclamation.
Haha, gotcha.
A sharp clink echoed down the hallway. A key. There was a spare key outside? I couldn't remember that, but Joshua sure did. At this point, my silence had boiled over into a muffled symphony of frantic screaming, pleading for Joshua to leave before it was too late. In the end, my noises only served to guide him deeper towards his demise. As he entered my dark room, he quickly flicked on the light, and the sudden brightness blinded me for a second. Just as my eyes adjusted, I saw her. She was nestled in the once dark corner of my room, right above the doorway where Joshua had walked in. I don't even want to think about how long she had been sitting there, just watching me. Joshua quickly made his way to my bedside, clearly confused by the situation I was in. He placed his hands on the thick fibers, tearing off a piece. It clung to his hand as he inspected it.
What the fuck is this?
He looked at it in disbelief.
This isn't exactly what I meant when I said... Come on, man. This isn't exactly what I meant when I said the ladies love silk sheets.
Then Moira started moving, slow and deliberate, careful not to make a sound. I stared at her, whipping my head up and down as much as the brace would allow, hoping my gaze would guide Joshua to see what I was seeing. He didn't. His eyes were fixed on me, his hands desperately searching for a grip on the webbing covering my mouth. I knew it was pointless. The tightly woven strands were too thick, and the time was too short. It all happened so fast. She had closed the distance between herself and Joshua and was now on the ceiling directly above him. Her eyes pinned me in place more than her webs could cover. My body gave up the struggle. All I could feel was Joshua shaking my limp body, as if he tried to wake me from a terrible nightmare. Slowly, the two round mandibles, which once seemed almost human in the way they moved when she spoke, broke apart. From behind them, two needle-sharp fangs gleamed in the light, their blackened tips glistening with dewdrops of venom. One by one, the droplets fell right down onto him. Blissfully aware of the dripping, his face lit up with an idea.
Stay here. I'm going to get a knife,
he said, shaking his head as he realized the irony of telling me to stay put. He quickly spun around and ran off toward the kitchen. Moira followed him like a shadow. All I heard was the sounds of Joshua rummaging through drawers, their slamming followed by a frustrated grunt. Then I heard Joshua say something that made me tremble with fear as I let out a desperate, muffled scream.
Man, you weren't kidding about this dripping. It's so annoying.
The frustration was building in his voice. I heard the sound of a metal clang as he flung open the last drawer, followed by a brief silence, shattered by a scream that sliced through the house. Joshua had always been my knight in shining armor, and I was just the helpless princess. I guess that made Moira the dragon in this twisted fairy tale. The thing is, I never thought Joshua feared anything until I heard his scream. It wasn't just fear, it was raw, primal terror, so violent that the sound echoed even after he hit the floor. A loud crash, followed by skittering, a pained yell, and a hellish screech. I had almost lost hope, but before I knew it, Joshua was standing in my room again. He had shut the door behind him and leaned against it for a moment. As soon as he moved away, I saw the blood-stained smear across the door.
It bit me. That fucking thing bit me. But I still managed to get in a good gash before it ran off. Fucking coward.
His face was mixed with anger and determination, and then I noticed the kitchen knife gleaming in his bloody hand.
Is it not mildly insane that Joshua has like, it's like he's just like so cool and collected considering the circumstances. Maybe that's him acting under complete insane stress and he's like, I don't have time to.
Yeah, no, I think that's what it is. I think that there's probably all the chemicals are dumped in his body right now. It would be like being in an accident, standing up and walking with broken arms and legs and just being like, I gotta get help. You know
just
what I mean?
Overcome with adrenaline. And
I think so. I think he's drowned out, and he's almost, because sometimes that happens where people feel like they're in their normal environment when they're not, you know, like because they're so dumped with adrenaline.
Well, he walks in there and he's like cracking jokes about sheets, and I'm just trying to like imagine me walking in on you tied to a bed like this. I'm not sure I'd be that cool about it. You know what I mean? I would definitely try to help you. I wouldn't be like, sorry, bro, gotta go.
Yeah, I think caution would like go through the roof at that point. Like, okay, is somebody in this house going to do this to me? Because if that happens, then I can't help him. You know what I mean? Its blade was stained with a strange black ooze. I know it sounds insane, but in that moment, I couldn't help but feel strangely concerned if Moira was okay. It was an intrusive thought, one that made me immediately feel guilty for even thinking it. Joshua stumbled over to my bedside, and with one quick, careful motion, sliced through the mask covering my mouth. I took in a deep, panicked breath before explaining.
That thing is Moira. She used me as bait to lead you here. You have to get the fuck out of here. I don't care who you think that thing is. I'm not leaving you here with it. I don't think she'll hurt me. But you aren't safe here.
I pleaded with him to leave. But Joshua wasn't listening. The whole time I had been begging him to leave, he stayed focused on the task of cutting me loose. He would have carried me out even if I begged him to leave without me.
Man, I think Joshua's you. I could see you saving me like this. I remember you carrying me over your shoulder at a Tom Petty concert when I was too hammered.
That's equally the same.
It's pretty much the same. I feel like if it was me, Moira would have killed me because I'd be like, the fuck, and like I just don't think I'd handle this that well. I think I'd be probably killed in the kitchen trying to kill her.
No man left behind.
I've seen you in under pressure moments where you're like, dude, we're doing this. And I'm like, wow, your brain works in these scenarios. That's great. That's a compliment. I love you.
Oh, thanks, man. Thanks.
You're a pig, though.
Suddenly, the cutting slowed down to a crawl, and I was still far from free. Joshua only managed to get one arm free.
Why are you slowing down?
I asked.
I can't feel my legs,
he said, his speech beginning to slur. Suddenly, Joshua slumped to his knees, his arms falling limp onto my bed. He looked me dead in the eyes, and I struggled to keep him upright with my one arm. He whispered something.
Under the pill.
His words were cut off as his jaw slackened, dropping with the rest of his head. He was just lying there, staring at me, completely paralyzed. I just stared at him in disbelief. In the hopeless silence that followed, I heard the quiet fumbling of the door handle. It took a few tries, but eventually the door slowly swung open. The rest of the room was a blur to me. All I could focus on was Joshua's cold, arctic eyes staring up at me, holding back a wave of tears. I stayed fixed on his gaze as Moira's figure patiently entered the room. Tears pooled up in my eyes as Joshua slowly closed his. The wave he had tried to hold back washed over me, and I was drowning in tears. I whispered quiet lies, promising that he'd be okay. Joshua's body slid off the bed, my hand still gripping his limp fingers. I tried my best to hold on, but I knew Moira wouldn't allow it. I watched through my tears as she carefully wrapped him up and dragged him out into the hallway. I didn't hear anything else but a faint creak of the attic door opening and closing like an old sore. The smell hit me for a second before dispersing into a faint, rotting undertone. I spent the whole day typing this out with my free hand, my laptop carefully perched on my nightstand. I can't shake the feeling that Moira will come for me next, but then again, I'm not sure if it'll be her or the memory loss that gets me first. My memories feel like drops of water in the palm of my hand. Every moment of my past feels fleeting. I have to hold on to something, anything, even if it's this journal. I'm fighting through my exhaustion just to get this post out. I don't know if I'll wake up tomorrow or if this will be my last coherent thought, but as long as I'm alive, I'll keep writing. Part 5 will come, even if I can't remember how. I have to finish this, for myself and for anyone still willing to read my ramblings. Ba 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 ba.
You know what time? Got our own house, got our own car.
Yeah.
Boy, I'm here for the final.
Are you here for the final, boy?
I'm here for the final, boy. I hate when I try to like pull my hair out of my face, but like the camera's reversed, so then instead I put hair into my face because like my brain's too dumb to realize it's backwards like a mirror.
Yeah, I remember those days. So what we got going on, boy? We got the final, part 5.
Part 5.
Title!
She said no strings attached, but I think she lied. Part 5. Final! I feel like we're about to find some things out, so...
Yeah, this is the wrap-up sesh right here. Wrapping it up.
So we've established... I think this all really happened to him at this point. I don't think that... Well, if you think about it, one thing he reminded me of in the last story, he's typing with one hand. He's still posting this to r/no sleep because it's real and it's happening. So if this is getting posted, he's obviously not completely, like, in a coma, in a cocoon, in a cave.
Correct.
So my theories are dog shit. Extruded introverts over there laughing the whole time. So simple and dumb you are, boy. You and your silly ideas. But we're about to find out. I don't think anyone deserves a setup at this point if they haven't seen the previous parts. But you're throwing this all in one chunk, right?
Yeah, this will be the part 5 usually carries everything with it.
Well, if you're here, you're here. So
let's get into it. All right. Back into reading mode.
Wouldn't it be funny if you like left it in there like that? You're like, let's get into it. Then you're like, all right, I'm back into reading mode.
To my surprise, I woke up with my mind and body still intact, but I wasn't alone. Moira was there, her lukewarm back gently pressed against me. She lay like a delicate flower basking in the afternoon sun, the sticky silk sheets refusing to cling to her smooth skin. For a split second, I thought it had all been a nightmare. She was here, just as I remembered her. The only thing contesting the illusion was the heavy blanket still smothering me. There was no smell other than her sweat, familiar fragrance.
Oh, I'll smell her sweat.
Oh God, it stinks. There was no smell other than her sweet, familiar fragrance. Even the blood Joshua had smeared on my door was gone, scrubbed away. Only the faintest trace remained, barely visible unless you knew where to look. At least now I could speak.
Moira?
My voice was quiet, hesitant. She let out a soft sound as she stirred and rolled around, stretching out her arms before wrapping them around me in a cold attempt at a warm embrace.
Good morning,
she murmured, her words swallowed by a yawn. My mind clawed at the words, but I didn't know what to say. I wanted to confront her, to ask her what she had done with Joshua, but I already knew the answer. I just wasn't ready to hear it.
About last night.
That was as far as I got before Moira's voice drowned out my thoughts.
The doctor came by this morning. We didn't want to wake you. He took a look at you and we both agreed that you'll be fine after some rest.
She paused, watching me carefully before finishing her words.
He even brought me some medicine for the pain. He said I should give it to you as I see fit. Red flag, here.
Okay, I see. I can kind of start to see the setup. Is she going to play this off like this was all a dream?
Ooh, that's not a bad idea. The blood's gone. She cleaned it up.
The doctor came over, said, so she's going to be like, yeah, you were in a coma or something like that. I don't know. Something could be brewing here.
What's that stuff that everybody, what's that drug that everybody's freaking out over these days that people slip into stuff constantly? What's it called?
What, are you talking about that weight loss stuff that people were doing?
No, like the street drug that people were like smuggling in and lacing your stuff with.
Oh, fentanyl. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that stuff's terrible.
The doctor brought by some fentanyl. What you just said makes a lot of sense. Maybe she is going to play it off.
Maybe it was though, because like you can't, like you have to be on the fence with that because you don't know. Maybe it was a dream, or maybe, you know, what if you find out that she's real and he was just hallucinating all the spider stuff?
Yeah, he was drinking and taking pain pills.
Yeah.
He hasn't mentioned yet that he was wrapped in a web as he woke up or anything like that.
A doctor? Making a house call all the way out here? No. He would have seen the webs. He would have known something was wrong. Her story seemed unlikely, but not impossible. I didn't trust her, but Moira convinced me I needed help recovering, so I played along. In a strange way, she reminded me of the nurses at the hospital. Whether her care was genuine or just an attempt to win back my trust, it was too early to tell. I guess only time will tell. I will try to keep this diary updated, even though I can feel myself losing the will to continue. I don't know how many days have passed since my last entry, but Moira seems determined to win me over. She feeds me, cleans me, and even gives me medicine when my body aches. Moira surprised me with a lemon pie today. I'm not sure where she got the recipe. So that's a flashback, right?
Yeah, his grandma, I remember him and Josh were stealing lemons, and
Yep.
he was like, I can still remember the amount of, and it's funny that he can't remember where she got the recipe, because like you would think he would otherwise be like reminiscing of his grandma.
Well, he had that memory was up front and clear to him. Whenever Josh was started to explain it, and now it's not, apparently.
Right.
I'm not sure where she got the recipe or the lemons. It seemed to be a little improvised, but it's the thought that counts. It was sickly sweet, yet somehow just the right amount of sour. Admittedly, it was not the best pie ever, but something about it warmed me up inside. I could tell it was made with love. My leg feels almost whole again. I can turn my head as far as the brace allows without pain. I think it's ready to come off. Yet, despite my recovery, my body feels weaker than ever. I keep asking Moira to lower the dose so I can move around more, but she just smiles and assures me she knows exactly how much I need.
I know that he took the brace off in the attic, and he said his head like felt heavy. Like, didn't he like kind of destroy the brace in doing that?
No, it says that he was yanking at the straps that kept it tight, but it just basically said that it came off, gave way. It didn't clarify that he broke it, but it didn't clarify that he did.
Yeah, because it's not like a cast, so it's removable.
Moira and I haven't talked about the giant spider-shaped white elephant in the room, but as long as things stay like this, I don't think we have to. Everything is almost back to normal. She sits with me during the day, telling me about all the wonderful things we'll do once I'm better. We could go hiking again, try out real restaurants, meet new people, and... What am I saying? Why am I even considering this? Things can't ever go back to the way they were, not after what I've seen. My memories are still foggy, but I don't think I've been declining as much since my accident in the hallway. Maybe I knocked my head back into place. Or maybe there's just nothing left to forget, except Joshua. My head is still full of cherished memories of him, yet they only serve as a painful reminder of what I've lost, what Moira has taken. Every day that passes, I become more certain that things can't stay like this forever. As I recover and even gain weight, Moira has been experiencing the opposite. She's growing weak again, and I know what that means. She needs to feed. And with Joshua off the menu, I fear I'll be next. Whoa, she's got the need to feed, bro.
Feed her that brick.
I don't think, dude, I honestly think it's unfortunate to say, but I think the brick's off the menu now.
Yeah, you're right.
It's a sad thing to say, but we don't know if she offed Joshua. There's no confirmation of that, but we're guessing that she did. When that happened, like, I think that the brick kind of disintegrated, you know?
She's plumping him up, which I don't really understand because, like, I don't know, because, like, it seemed like she wasn't going to hurt him. She said she wouldn't. She could have easily eaten him and still got Joshua to come over for her second meal. So, I don't know. We'll find out.
I swear she's fattening me up for the slaughter. I need to do something fast. I have to find a way out of here. I'm pretty sure I can walk. I just need Moira to stop injecting me with her medicine. My arm is covered in track marks like a heroin addict's. My veins bulged like blue rivers with streams of ink flowing through them. Whatever it is, it's definitely a sedative, but nothing like what the nurses gave me. If I can just convince her to lower my dose just once, I might be able to muster the strength to fight back and break free from this cocoon. Joshua might be gone, but his influence isn't. Shifting in bed, I felt something gently prodding into my back. With my free hand, I reached under the pillow and found it. The knife. The same blackened blade he used to fend off Moira. The one he tried to cut me free with. Maybe I could finish what he started. Man, how he has turned the corner with being so in love with her, and now he's definitely made up his mind that he's trying to escape, and if he has to kill her, he has to kill her. Like, he's come to those terms, like, just with that, like, that sentence right there hardens that for me. Maybe I could finish what he started. He's lost all compassion for her at this point, but even like the end of the last part, he was still like laying next to her warm embrace, and that's actually the beginning of this one. So it's like, boom, immediately he's made up his mind. He's tired of being sedated. He's going to get out.
That's where he's a bigger man than me, because I'd be like, you know what? Can you just like stay in that hot goth mummy form? Leave me drugged up. Let me get a quick ride out, and then
Here, put on this nurse's hat for me. Sick pig. Last night, I asked Moira to lower my dosage since I had nearly made a full recovery. I promised her I wouldn't struggle anymore. I felt bad for deceiving her. She gave me a smile.
I'll think about it,
she said, but there was something in her voice that told me she didn't believe me.
Since I already went through the trouble of preparing this dose, I'll give it to you as is. I'll call the doctor tomorrow and ask about lowering your next dose.
Her voice was soft and comforting, even though I knew it was all lies. The cloudy white fluid in the syringe couldn't have been more than a few drops, but it did the trick. Almost instantly, my muscles melted under the weight of the fraying blanket. The medicine may have dulled my body, but my mind was still hard at work, piecing together a plan to escape. Today is the day. This has to work. I don't think Moira can hold back her hunger much longer. She looks as ready to pop as she did the night she revealed her true nature. She'll be back with my next dose in a few hours. By then, I'll have carefully slipped the knife from under my pillow, gripping it as tightly as my weak muscles allow. I'll cut through the last thick strands of silk holding me down, slicing through the main arteries like some twisted surgeon, until all that remains is a dried out net, light as a leaf. Once I'm done, I'll slide the knife back under the pillow and pray I won't need it again. If I write any more after this, that means my plan must have worked. The plan backfired worse than I could have imagined. That's not a great next sentence for him.
well, I mean, his plan didn't work, but he's still writing, so.
Yeah. I just pray I remember where to find this diary in the morning. Hopefully, reading it will give me some clues as to who I used to be, before Moira hollows me out completely. It worked at first. I cut myself free, and once the weight lifted, I could feel my strength returning. My veins filled with adrenaline, flushing out the last of her venom. I hid the knife just in time. Moira returned as the sun was setting, right on time for what was hopefully my final dose. She entered the room with a slight limp in her step. Her age was catching up quickly, something that would greatly aid my escape, I thought. In this form, I could easily overpower her and wrestle the syringe from her hand. The syringe was plan A. The knife was my backup plan.
Do you think that she's injecting him with
Yeah,
some kind of street drug?
no, it's her venom.
And she's just doing it that way to make him believe it's actual thing. So like, will her venom even work on her?
Probably not. It probably won't. He'll probably bury this in her and she probably won't even flinch.
I'm just wondering if a spider attacks another spider and injects it with venom.
Yeah, I'm not 100% sure about that one myself either.
She's like going into the corner and like just pulling a little syringe out, taking a little white cloud.
The white cloud. I need the white cloud. Give me the white cloud. Even after everything Moira has put me through, I don't hate her. I hate what she has become. I hate the illness. To spare her life while saving me would be the best outcome for everyone involved. Everyone except Joshua. The memory of him was the driving force behind this escape attempt. If I didn't get out, then Joshua would have died for nothing. When Moira took out the syringe, I saw exactly what I was hoping for. I knew that when I asked her for a lower dose, she would only increase it. She couldn't bear to give up control, not with so much animosity between us. I could never forgive her for what she had done to Joshua, and now she was starting to realize that. I offered my arm, and her cold hand closed around mine, gently yet firmly pulling it out to ready the needle. Her bony fingers still wielding the same strength with which she had pulled me up the day we met. That's when I knew this wouldn't be as easy as I thought. There was no time to hesitate. I had to move quickly. I grabbed the syringe from her hand. She wasn't expecting it, and before she even knew what happened, I plunged it into her abdomen. The needle punctured her wrinkled skin and slid in smoothly, almost as silky smooth as her skin had once been. As I injected the medicine, I saw her glazed over eyeballs roll back into her skull, only for a pair of inky black eyes to fill the empty sockets. The venom pulled inside them as she stared me down, but this time, her icy gaze wouldn't freeze me in place. She managed to keep me pinned for a second, but I shoved her back with all my might. The venom was working, even on her. She stumbled back, and I saw my chance. My body ached as I broke through my cocoon and dragged myself onto my feet. My legs buckled, but I pushed through. I made it to the doorway, but before I could leave, I shot a glance back at Moira. She was still on her hands and knees, facing the floor. But I could see her back bulging. I knew what was coming. I wasn't sure the venom would be enough to paralyze Moira, but no amount of it could subdue the beast inside of her. For a moment, I hesitated. Had I made the right choice, using the needle instead of the knife? I almost darted back for the knife, but then I heard her shrill, agonizing scream. It was an angry scream, her once woeful screech boiling over into a fit of rage. For a second, it sounded like standing next to a boiling kettle, one filled with poison and betrayal. My heart broke. She's about to serve him, I'll tell you that right now.
Boy should have used the knife. Maybe the venom works on her because there is an element of like human form, and that's just forcing her into this state.
Well, what's unique with a lot of venomous creatures is that the venom is kind of separate from their body.
Yeah, it's probably kept in like some kind of...
It's a special gland, so it being forced into a foreign part of her body might definitely still affect her. I don't know, I think there's creatures out there that are affected by their own venom, and then there's probably creatures that are not. Like there's certain animals that are like immune to certain snake bites that would kill a man. For some reason, it doesn't do that to them. I left the room, but my mind stayed behind. As I stumbled down the hallway, I could hear the same sounds as I had when I was forced to witness her transformation. But this time, they were much quicker. They sounded rushed, like a video playing at double speed. With each sound, a flash of memory accompanied it, my mind replaying the event in fragments that clouded my vision. A symphony of agony spilled out from my room and into the hallway behind me, climaxing in a loud screech and heavy thud. Then, immediate and complete silence. I didn't care if the venom worked and if she was out cold, or if it failed and she was right on my heels. I was heading straight for the door, not stopping for anything. As I limped through the dining room, I swear I heard a faint sound coming from the attic above me. At first, I wasn't sure if I had heard anything at all.
You got babies up there?
Oh, that would be a twist. And then like 14 skittering babies with human heads on them come down. They're like, "Ah!"
Sick pig.
Only when I reached for the handle on the front door did I stop, guilt overriding my movement. What if that noise was Joshua? What if he was still alive and I was leaving him behind? I know now what that noise was, because as I turned around, my hopes were crushed by what I saw in the mirror beside the door. Moira was on the ceiling right above me. She fell onto me with all of her weight, and as her fangs punctured the back of my neck brace, the needle-sharp tips somehow echoed the pain from the dull rock that had landed me in this mess. The pain faded along with my vision, and I fell into a dreamless sleep so deep I thought I died. I woke back up in bed, swallowed by deep darkness. It must have been sometime around midnight. As I leaned over to look at the clock on my bedside, I was surprised to find that my body was complying. It was not tied down. But as soon as I moved, the darkness spoke. A voice I recognized well was choking on words, attempting to ease the pain, but it was useless. Instead of confronting me, Moira's voice sent a cold weight through my spine, locking me in place.
I'm so sorry.
Moira said, remorse stifling her voice.
I didn't want to bare my fangs at you, but you left me no choice.
I purposefully turned my head away from her, and with a slight quiver I asked,
Is this the part where you eat me like a bug?
Eat you? I could never eat you. It's killing me, but I'd rather waste away and refuse to feed.
Her voice was low and serious, the pain clear in each word.
You had no problem eating Joshua.
I spat, my words coated in venom.
What a senseless comparison,
she said in a cold, calm voice. After a brief pause, her tone shifted. Suddenly, her voice spoke with a quiet warmth that reminded me of why I fell in love with her.
You showed me that the heart is more than a pump. Is this what they call love? Because I feel it in my chest. I feel it in my head.
She paused, weighing out the emotional weight of her next words.
I know all of Joshua's thoughts, every memory he had of you. He only ever pitied you. He could never take away your pain like I have. He was merely a stain on the parts of pain I've already scrubbed clean. In the end, his flesh was worth more than the scraps of insight his memories offered. He didn't love you, not like I do. Manipulative bitch.
Oh yeah. You're gonna tell me my friend that I've been with for my whole entire life?
The dude that's risking his life, like walks in and you're cocooned up and there's a giant spider in there.
And he didn't turn around and run immediately?
No, like if he didn't care for him, he'd be gone.
He'd have been like, oh shit, and gone.
Maybe he did pity him. That doesn't mean that, I mean, that could have gone a different way. Moira, you bitch.
Oh no, the brick is lost. Her words ricocheted around in my head, the first realization bouncing off the second. This was the first time she admitted to killing Joshua, and also the first time she told me she loved me. The moment felt wrong. The bitter outweighed the sweet. The realization slowly sank in like a lumpy, bitter pill washed down with a spoonful of thick honey. I turned towards where her voice had come from, my words shaking as I spoke into the darkness.
You're wrong about him. Joshua was all I had. He was the only person left in my life who was real.
I don't even remember anyone else.
I said, my voice a quiet plea, waiting for her to rationalize what she had taken from me.
I tried my hardest to consume only the pain. It was like uprooting all the weeds in a garden, only to realize there's nothing left at the end.
She paused, her words heavy with honesty.
I thought Joshua was the only thing left that was worth saving. He was the lemon tree, proudly standing in the center of the garden. However, it seems as if the fruit of your friendship has soured the soil and made it impossible for anything else to grow in its place. I recognize that's my fault for not clearing him out with the rest of the weeds.
Dude, what an incredible line right before that. I tried my hardest to consume only the pain. It's like uprooting the weeds in a garden only to realize there's nothing left at the end.
Yeah, that's deep.
That punches you right in the gut. Like, that's all the dude had was a life of pain. And she's like, wow, this dude has nothing left. That's sad.
Yeah, dude, that's deep.
It's heavy.
It is a great line, though. Her voice softened, but the coldness in it remained.
But now, there's only one solution. It is clear to me that I can't leave you with the last of your memory.
All the metaphors swam around in my head, too much to try and piece together at once. I just sat there in silence, trying to process her words. There was a long pause from the darkness before Moira continued.
But I promise you I'm real as your own flesh. So just let your eyes grow heavy, and I'll stay beside your bed.
As she leaned over out of the darkness, Moira's melodic voice was grown into a whisper, soft and sweet. A stark contrast to the face directly in front of mine, those 8 cold pearls piercing through me.
Do you recognize my gaze as I once again clean you of this mess?
The final words in her lullaby lulled me into a trance. I stared into her eyes for only a few seconds, but it felt like a lifetime had passed. I could feel my childhood memories of Joshua slipping away, and with them, any connection to my past. My whole existence up until now was reduced to a flickering candle in the wind, on the verge of being snuffed out. I shut my eyes, a tear rolling down my cheek as I turned my head away.
Was this your plan all along? To hollow me out? To paralyze my body and spirit so you can pull at my strings like I'm your puppet? Don't you see? Once you let go, there will be no need for strings. You'll be free, without the memory of ever being trapped. Then we can start over. I'm not ready to let go. Just give me some time alone with my thoughts.
I paused, the weight of my own words sinking in.
Or at least what's left of my thoughts.
One of Moira's 8 legs curled out from the darkness, brushing the tear off my face with an eerie tenderness. Moira stared at me, unblinking. Her cold, inky eyes carried a warm understanding, but I could still sense the hunger behind them. She agreed and left the room. Her patient voice was the last thing I heard, as her silent skittering carried her out of the room. Her words echoed down the hall.
I'll be here for you when you change your mind.
You think extruded introverts into Charlotte's Web as a kid? It'd be funny if like he like looks up at the wall and there's like a web and it's like it just says you're.
It's very well put together word wise too. Like it's almost like poetic, you know. Like some of these lines are, and I enjoy that. Once I was sure I was alone again, I wasted no time reaching for my laptop to write down everything that had happened. I hoped that by the time I wake up tomorrow, I would remember where to find these notes. As I lay in bed, unburdened by webs, a strange sense of trust settles over me. Until I notice something lingering in the corner of the room, a uniquely familiar shape. I stare at it for over a minute, yet my eyes refuse to adjust to the darkness. The pale form melts seamlessly into the white corner where the ceiling meets the wall. I can't bring myself to turn on the light. You would think that Moira's influence feels like a parasite in my head, maliciously eating away at my memories. But no. My head is as clear as it has ever been. Instead, the years of memories I've lost feel like a pit in my stomach. And yet all my memories of Moira are still crystal clear, kept safe inside my heart. If Moira's telling the truth and my life before her was as miserable as she says, then why do I hunger for a life I've never truly lived? A life where I merely existed, scraping by with nothing to show for it. No purpose, no joy, just an endless cycle of loss and loneliness. The thought of going back to my life without Moira terrifies me. What if all she wants is to take away the pain? Maybe if I give in to her, I could be happy. Maybe we could be whole again. When it's all said and done, she's still all I've got. Or maybe she's lying, and the reason she dug this pit was to lay her eggs and watch as they hatch, and then slowly consume me from the inside out. The fucked up part is, I don't know which possibility scares me more. I feel torn in two. Moira's offering is comforting, but the knife pressing into my back still offers a desperate alternative.
Extruded
Why would you do this to me?
What are you doing in here? Listen,
Why would you do this to me?
I say, give in, get back to the brick.
Why would you do this to me?
God damn it, man. I think what this tells us, if this is his last post, you know what's fucked up is like he either accepted it and quit writing about it, but I don't think he would at this point. The dude journaled through excruciating circumstances. I think our homeboy's gone. I think that was his last post, and that's the reason it's over.
You're just digging for conclusion, aren't you? Aren't you? In this sea of, oh man.
How do you document this entire experience, as ridiculous as it's been?
So here's the thing, is he's saying that his memories of everything is pretty much almost gone.
So maybe he doesn't remember writing this in the first
That's
place.
what he said. He says, I hope I wake up and know where to get these notes.
So that's God damn it, dude. So you're right. So
He just completely forgets everything. And
still a little fork in the road. Could be either thing. This is completely open-ended. So either he's gone or he gave in and he's living his life and doesn't remember posting this in the first place.
you're not going to know. Yeah. It's unresolved.
I think that's a really good way to end it, though.
I do too. Even though I feel jaded in a way, I do. I like once I get over my initial shock of realizing I'll never have closure, it is a very excellent way to end it. It really is.
Because you have to end it somewhere. And like,
yeah, and in the cliche ways of ending it, this is not one of them. And I appreciate that. As soon as he loses his mind completely, then this doesn't get posted anymore.
we have to assume that she's not going to kill him.
She would have done it a long time ago if she was going to do it.
And if he had killed her successfully and escaped, he would have wrote about it. So we have to assume that he did give in and he's gone. Like, she's not going to kill him. She would have killed him already.
They're living their best life.
He doesn't remember writing this. There's your conclusion. We solved the fucking mystery. It's over.
They're out there living their best life,
Making little spider babies.
tossing bricks. It's all good.
Bro's slinging brick left and right.
But how does she keep that hidden from him for a long period of time, or does he just accept that that's what she is? You know what I mean?
He doesn't remember a life before her, and her being Spider Queen is normal. And
He just accepts that.
it's like if this happens like every once in a while for her and she needs to feed, it's like it's not really any different than like my experience with women. Like there's a spot where you can't really talk to them and they want to kill you, and then they love you again and you have a good time. So
Nah, I enjoyed the story. It was cool. It was very captivating from beginning to end. It made us want to continue to read it all the time. So did a good job with it, man.
yeah, thanks for letting us read it, dude. Appreciate the support and the putting up with all the bricks getting tossed at your story. It was really cool. It's definitely, I think it's my favorite story that you and I have read together.
Yeah, it's definitely good.
At least in the top. I still love The Body Farm a good bit. So this is in my top 2 for sure, and
Yeah.
really unique. I think I need to go get another blue bottle.
Another blue bottle to wash down the fact that we'll never know.
I got to go sedate myself in a cocoon. Wait for my goth mommy to rescue me. Gothmommies.com. Thanks, Extruded Introvert. Midgrid, thanks for having me on, Pig.
Absolutely. Till next time. I am the Big Green Masochist. Farewell.
Gothmummies.com.